And now I'll say, for our discussion a few minutes ago during the meeting, we're going to move the first item under discussion to right now. So just to that first item, then we'll go back to our public hearing. So the first item for discussion is informational public meeting for Bayline Apartments, a proposed 100% affordable housing project, development project on Bayfront blocks F and H. The APN numbers are 404-490, 102-5, and 404-490-101-7, consistent with state law requirements, specifically SB 35, SB 423, for a streamlined ministerial review process. May we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll turn to our Community Development Director, Tim Rude, to handle this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Tim Rude, your Community Development Director. This item is an informational public meeting that is required by state law to be conducted within 45 days when an applicant submits a notice of intent to utilize SB 35 for a development project. No formal action will be taken at tonight's meeting, and staff has not made any determination as to the project's eligibility for SB 35 at this time. The pre-application was received on May 6th for the project, as outlined by the mayor, along with a notice of intent to utilize the state streamlined development approval process pursuant to SB 35 and SB 423. These laws require ministerial approval of a development project if certain conditions are met. Ministerial approval means a process for development approval that involves little or no subjective judgment by the public official as to the wisdom or manner of carrying out the project. The public official merely ensures the proposed development meets all the required objective zoning standards, objective subdivision standards, and objective design review standards in effect at the time that the pre-application was submitted to the local government, but uses no special discretion or special judgment in reaching a decision. SB 35 was initially enacted in 2017 and applies to local jurisdictions that have not met certain planning goals established through the regional housing needs allocation process. In Hercules, to qualify for streamlined review, a developer would need to provide at least 50% of the units as affordable to lower income households at 80% of area mean income. The proposed project will provide 100% of the units to low-income and extremely very low-income households, and therefore qualifies for streamlined development review, or at least for the review process. There would be one manager unit that would be market rate, which is allowed and typical for affordable housing developments. In 2024, SB 423 went into effect, which updated SB 35 and extended some of its provisions. SB 423 requires these streamlined housing projects to undergo an informational public meeting at a regular city council meeting prior to submittal of a streamlined ministerial application if the site is located in a low or moderate resource area as defined by the California Tax Credit Allocation Committee. Like most of Hercules, the project site is in a defined moderate resource area. The purpose of these streamlining laws is to encourage housing development by fast-tracking the permitting process for housing developments that meet specific qualifications. To qualify for SB 35, a housing project must conform to objective development standards. The developer must agree to pay prevailing wages. It must meet minimum affordable housing requirements and also meet a long list of state-mandated eligibility criteria. Projects that meet these criteria can qualify for streamlined ministerial approval. Again, the city has not received or evaluated a full application to verify that these required conditions are met. There is also a required tribal consultation process that is triggered by the pre-application. One tribe has requested consultation, and a consultation meeting has been scheduled at the end of July, the first available date. In the meantime, cultural resource records requests from the state requested by the tribe are in the process of being obtained. If agreement is reached with consulting Native American tribes to allow the SB 35 process to go forward, the applicant then has up to 180 calendar days from the preliminary application submittal date or until November 2nd to submit a full application. When the full application is submitted, The agency or the city then determines the eligibility of the project for SB 35 within 60 days for projects of less than 150 units. If the lead agency believes the project or determines the project is not eligible for SB 35 or requires additional information, it must provide written comments, so saying to the applicant, and that restarts the timeline. So the whole process is under a series of shot clocks by the state, and we are at the very beginning of the process with this informational public meeting. The applicant will be presenting the details of the project, but it's important to note that the sites are located in the Waterfront District Master Plan area, but under separate ownership from Ledcor's Bayfront project and not subject to the Bayfront agreements. The zoning in the Waterfront District Master Plan, which takes precedence over the base zoning, is T5 MS Bayfront Boulevard Main Street in the building form regulating map. This designation allows buildings of 2 to 4 stories and is intended to enhance the vibrant pedestrian-oriented character of Bayfront Boulevard with vertical mixed use with retail or commercial on the ground floor and residential or commercial above. The proposed project would include a new development of 107 multifamily housing units, including 11 extremely low income, 11 very low income, 84 low income, and 1 unrestricted income managers units. The housing would include 42 one-bedroom units, 54 two-bedroom units, and 11 three-bedroom units. The application notes that the affordability levels and affordable unit counts are subject to change, although staff notes that the project would need to be consistent with SB 35 requirements in order to be processed as such. The proposed multifamily buildings would be 5 stories and approximately 60 feet tall measured to the parapet. Affordable housing does not require any off-street parking under the WDMP. However, the project proposes to provide 87 parking spaces accessed from the existing alley and would be required to install sidewalks and street trees along its frontages, along with utility connections and other civil improvements.
Sorry. If we could let him finish the report, there's some detailed information here. It's important. I think it'll support you guys as you ask questions going forward. So if you can just let the community director finish his statement. Thank you, Mr. Rood.
Thank you, Mayor. With regard to the streamlined ministerial approval process, this required public meeting will function similar to a study session and is intended to allow the public and the City Council an opportunity to comment on the proposed project. The applicant is required to attend the meeting, but is not required to take any action or make any changes to the project as a result of comments made at this meeting. No formal decision will be made on the project at this meeting. So the development, if it proceeds under SB 35, would be reviewed against the objective design standards of the WDMP and other objective city standards. However, state density bonus law allows certain exceptions known as waivers and concessions from development standards for affordable housing. And the applicant has requested waivers for WDMP standards for height, retail commercial requirements, ground floor ceiling clearance, building placement, facade composition, and building form. In addition to the WDMP provision that does not require any parking for affordable or senior housing, state law also prohibits the city from requiring parking for any use within a half mile of a major transit stop, including planned stops in the regional transportation plan, including the Hercules Hub, whenever a project dedicates a minimum of 20% of the total number of housing units to very low, or moderate income households, students, the elderly, or persons with disabilities. That's AB 2097. Independent of SB 35, projects that propose affordable housing may be eligible for a density bonus under state density bonus law, which allows developers to exceed the maximum allowable density in the general plan and zoning ordinance if the project includes a certain number and type of affordable units. Affordable housing projects may also be eligible for concessions and waivers under state density bonus law. Because the project would include 100% affordable housing and is located within 1/2 mile of the planned Hercules Hub, which is included in the regional transportation plan, under state density bonus law, the project may qualify for 5 incentives or concessions plus an automatic bonus of 3 stories or 33 feet of height beyond what the zoning height limit of 4 stories would allow. The specific waivers and concessions the applicant has requested are enumerated in the staff report. Staff will not evaluate whether the project is eligible for any of the above incentives or concessions unless and until an application is received. With regard to the housing element, recently adopted by the council last December, by including 106 affordable units, the Bayline project would help the city to remedy a deficit in affordable housing capacity that may occur due to the Loop Site Builders Remedy Project. Under state law, the city is required at all times to maintain sufficient capacity by income level for its assigned regional housing needs allocation of 995 housing units, including 344 very low, 187 low income, 127 moderate income, and 327 above moderate income units. The city's housing plan in the housing element assumed 402 very low income units on the Loop site, but the Mixed Income Builders Remedy Project application for the site includes only 18 low income units. The city is therefore required to identify and rezone replacement sites with capacity for at least 344 very low income units within 120 days of approval of the Loop site project. The Bayline project's proposed 22 very low income units would also reduce the city's very low income RHNA deficit from 344 to 322 units, which would still need to be located elsewhere. Bayline's 84 low-income units would also partially replace the 188 affordable units projected for the Caltrans site, which the city is required to replace if the city and Caltrans have not both determined by 2028 that the site can be developed as affordable housing and the Caltrans Corporation yard relocated to another site. In addition, the 6-cycle adopted housing element includes several programs and policies that may be applicable to the Bayline project. Program 1B, Affordable Housing Development, Incentives, and Outreach, calls for the city to use state and federal assistance programs on an ongoing basis to the fullest extent possible to develop affordable lower-income housing for seniors, families, and persons with disabilities, including persons with developmental disabilities, and to support funding applications by developers if proposed projects are consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan. Program 1C, Density Bonus, calls to continue the program with a focus on included specific units with special needs populations. Policy H4.5 encourages housing construction or alteration to meet the needs of residents with special needs, such as the elderly or disabled. Program H4.1, Housing for Persons with Special Needs, calls for the city to support affordable housing development for special needs groups, with a goal of creating 35 units of special needs housing within the planning period. It also calls for the city by 2026 to develop a program to prioritize city funding proposals to affordable housing developments that are committed to supporting special needs residents, such as farm workers, elderly, homeless, and persons with disabilities, including those with developmental disabilities. Policy 1.5 encourages development of new special needs housing for seniors, single parents, families, large families, the disabled, including those with developmental disabilities, and extremely low-income households. And Policy 1.6 calls for the use of density bonuses and other incentives to facilitate the development of new housing for extremely low, very low, and low-income households in conformity with state law. In terms of next steps, the city has received a request for tribal consultation from the Confederated Villages of Lisjan. Pending conclusion of the required tribal consultation process and agreement from the tribe and completion of this informational public meeting, the applicant would be able to submit an application for streamlined ministerial approval, which the city would evaluate against objective written standards within 90 days. If the project meets city standards and all the objective design standards, allowing for any concessions or waivers under state density bonus law, then I am required as the community development director to approve the project through a ministerial process within 180 days of the formal application submittal to the city. In terms of environmental review, their final environmental review will be completed when a formal decision on the project is made at a future date. If it does proceed as a ministerial project, it is categorically or statutorily exempt from CEQA under the CEQA guidelines, section 15268. Ministerial approvals are exempt from CEQA. In terms of public notice, a description of the project, the preliminary plans, and notice of this meeting were posted on the city website on May 13th. In addition, a mailed courtesy notice was sent at least 10 days before the public meeting date to neighbors within 500 feet of the project site, as well as neighbors on Railroad Avenue, Ernest Street, Promenade Street, and Taraya Terrace between Bayfront Boulevard and Sycamore Avenue. In addition, public notification was achieved by posting the agenda, with the agenda items being listed at least 72 hours prior to the meeting. And the city also publicized this meeting on social media. Now, the applicant team would like to come forward and make a presentation, and then we'd be happy to take your questions and comments. So I invite the team from Community Housing Works up. Samantha Issel, project manager.
You controlling the slide deck? Okay. All right. Good evening, Mayor Bailey, Vice Mayor Kelly, council members, and the City of Hercules. My name is Samantha Issel. I'm an Associate Director of Housing and Real Estate Development with Community Housing Works. I want to begin by thanking you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and thank you to the residents of Hercules for showing up and engaging in tonight's information session. I know many of you have questions and concerns about the Bayline project, and I'm here to address them with honesty, transparency, and respect. Excellent. Before we dive in, I want to briefly walk through what we'll talk about tonight in the information session. I do want to cover Community Housing Works, who we are, what we stand for, our track record of building and maintaining quality housing. I wanted to show you some communities that we're especially proud of up here in Northern California, and as well as some recent developments. And I do want to walk through the Bayline project with you. I also want to address, I know this is a hot topic, I do want to address affordable housing and the need for affordable housing up here in Contra Costa County. And then finally, we'll open it up for public comment. So before we talk about Bayline itself, I want to take a moment to tell you about Community Housing Works. Next slide. Thank you. All right. So Community Housing Works is a nonprofit affordable housing developer, operator, and service provider. We were founded in 1988 with the belief that opportunity begins with a stable home. Over the last 35 years, we've developed, rehabbed, and preserved more than 50 communities all the way from Contra Costa County down to San Diego. We're not an investor here to flip a property. We're a mission-driven, nonprofit organization. We're community home builders, and we are invested in the long haul. We currently serve over 12,000 residents, including more than 3,500 children, and our work is centered around 3 pillars: next generation success, health and wellness, and financial well-being. We're going to dive into that more later. We are proud to deliver life-changing services tailored to each community that we serve. Next slide. All right, so you can all read this. This is our values, but I kind of wanted to switch things up. Unfortunately, I had this idea after I submitted my deck, but I have a fact sheet of the median income in Contra Costa County. I think there's some unfamiliarity for who qualifies in our Bayline project. And just so you're all aware, the area median income in Contra Costa County is $159,800. The highest income that can live at our Bayline project, it's a household of 7. They're at 80% AMI, and their household income could have $155,100. A household of 1 at the lowest possible AMI is $33,600. When we talk about very low income, that's a household of 1 person making $55,950. When we say low income, That is a household of one person making $87,550. So I just wanted to make that very clear. Moving on. All right, back to resident services. I couldn't hand this out, so I did switch up my script a little bit, so just bear with me. So CHW, we don't stop at housing. We believe that when people have a stable home, they can start building a better future, and we aim to have them do just that. We offer a robust suite of services at no cost to our residents. And these include next generation success. That includes things like after school tutoring, e-learning tools, teen programs, summer enrichment. I'm really proud to say that we have a Sue Reynolds Valor Scholarship Program. Last weekend, 50 of our residents received a scholarship for their college tuition. We also offer career pathways, which includes mentoring for job readiness and college prep. We focus on financial well-being. So the goal is to basically have people avoid evictions, credit coaching, financial health club, and we also focus on health and wellness, such as supportive housing for veterans, families, or adults in crisis, offer on-site wellness programs and community building activities, and food distribution to our residents. Why does this matter? These programs are proven to prevent homelessness, strengthen financial independence, and boost educational outcomes and build healthier, connected communities. When we invest in the whole person, not just a unit, you create a true lasting impact. Next slide. All right, these are some featured communities. I'm going to show you a few up here in Northern California and then some recent properties so you can see what affordable housing looks like. Right. So we have Parkside Terrace. This is a project in San Jose that was rehabbed. It is 201 family units. Next slide. This is in Concord, completed in 2018. Oh, sorry. Oh, completed in 2018. Sorry, extends the affordability for 55 years. We performed a major rehab on this project. So this is kind of in our backyard. Now for the fun stuff, new construction. So here we have Salvatore Apartments. This is a transit-oriented development in Sacramento. You get an idea of what our project looks like, the community spaces. It received an award from the Sacramento Housing Alliance for TOD of the year. We have Kimball Highland Master Plan. This project is in National City. Just last week, we won an award from the San Diego Housing Federation for Development of the Year. It integrates both family and senior communities next to each other. It's located in San Diego County. It's 145 units. There's also a healthcare center on the campus. Next slide. This is Portola Seniors. I'm especially proud of this project because I worked on it. But this is a project that actually a master developer, a market rate developer, selected Community Housing Works to provide the affordable housing component for this project. And that is in Lake Forest, California. This is for 55 and up, all affordable. All right. Okay, Bayline. Let's talk about it. This is going to be a beautiful 107 unit community with 1, 2, and 3 bedroom homes. It will have 87 parking spaces, ground floor amenities to tenants, and a rooftop deck, and will be designed to complement the surrounding architecture of the waterfront. I understand there's been some comments or concerns that this design might not blend in with the character of Hercules. I want to emphasize this is a preliminary rendering. Our intent is to align with the city's architectural style. The image that you're seeing is conceptual, doesn't reflect the full level of detail or refinement that's going to be part of our final design. We are committed to making sure that Bayline complements and enhances the character of the community. Next slide, please. Here you can see the site shaded in green relative to the Hercules hub. This is going to be the first of a long envisioned Hercules hub. We'll be bringing life to the hub, activating the space with homes, energy, opportunity. This is an early design, and our intent is to contribute positively to the district's future and complement the surrounding community. Next slide. All right, back to AMI. So here you can see the preliminary profile of the building looking west from Promenade Street. Again, preliminary plans. This is just a little, gives you a general idea. It does not include all the detail of the Victorian, Gold Rush, other requirements that we plan on incorporating. So I just want to emphasize that. Excuse me. So our ground floor will feature a community space for residents intentionally designed to foster connection services and a sense of belonging. I wanted to just emphasize that I know affordable housing there's a lot of emotions associated with it. And I just want to emphasize the rents that could be charged if the project were occupied today. So the lowest possible rent for a 1-bedroom unit is $899. That is an extremely low income unit. 80% and an 80% AMI rent for that 1-bedroom unit is $23.98. I'm not going to bore you with this, but I just kind of want to give you a picture that the people that are living in these units, they make money. They're contributors to this community. They're people you interact with every single day. I'll get into more of that. 2-bedroom rents range from $1,079 to $28,078. 3-bedroom rents, if it were occupied today, range between $1,246 to $3,324. Next slide. I do want to, one more thing. So the households living at this project will range from $33,600 to $55,100, depending on their household size. And these rents are updated annually. I don't want to bore you with the numbers, but I encourage you to look up your Contra Costa County area median rents. All right, tentative timeline. So we are optimistic that Bayline will break ground in 2026 with an 18-month construction period and first occupancy anticipated in 2028. The rendering here shows a view along Bayfront Boulevard. Again, this is conceptual, not final, doesn't incorporate the full architecture detail. And our goal is to complement Hercules' architectural character surrounding the waterfront. We want to enhance, not disrupt, this community. Next slide. Here's our floor plan. Up on the top, you can't really see too many details right now, but the top half is basically how the units will be arranged on floors 2 through 5. And the lower half of this slide shows the ground floor plan. It includes 87 parking spaces. There will be improvements along the street, including trees. The parking along the street will remain. There will also be our proposal is to have community space on the ground floor. And this is all our preliminary proposal. I just want to emphasize that. Next slide. All right. Okay, so the chart on the screen is from a 2023 report on affordable housing in Contra Costa County. It tells a really clear story. So over here on the left, you're going to see a total number of low-income renter households broken out by very low income and extremely low income. These are households earning between 30% and 50% area median income. On the right, you're going to see the number of affordable available rental homes in the county for these same income levels. This red box right there represents a shortfall. Over 32,000 low-income renter households in Contra Costa County do not have access to affordable housing. In other words, there's a huge gap between how many people need affordable housing and how many affordable homes actually exist. Bayline is a small but meaningful step in closing that gap. It's not a luxury development. It's not low-quality housing. It is stable, dignified, affordable homes for people who are being priced out of the communities that they serve. All right. The next chart just shows how severe the housing crisis in Contra Costa County is. Also for the folks over here that don't see it. So the average monthly rent of an apartment in Contra Costa County is $23,666. To afford that, you need to make $45 an hour. That is 2.6 times the city of Richmond minimum wage of $17.77 dollars per hour. If you are earning minimum wage, you can qualify to live at Bayline Apartments. Next slide. Okay. Sorry. Let's bring it back to the heart of this project. Who is going to live at Bayline? Bayline is designed for individuals and families earning 30 to 80% of area median income. I've said it before, I'll say it again. That includes people making anywhere from $33,600 to $155,000 per year, depending on household size. Who is that in real life? It's a preschool teacher, your grocery store clerk, security guard, dental assistant, school office staff, janitor, home health aide. These are everyday workers, people holding down essentials jobs but struggling to afford a place to live in this region. To put that into context, I already mentioned this, you need to earn $45.50 an hour to live in your standard apartment in Contra Costa County. A childcare worker earns $22.57 an hour. A janitor earns $23.06 an hour. Retail employee, $22.88 per hour. Medical assistant earns $30 per hour. That is below the area median income. These folks don't make anywhere near what's needed to afford the average rent. Bayline is not for people who do not want to work. It's for people who are already working, often full-time or multiple jobs, but they're locked out of the housing market through no fault of their own. This is for housing for people who are holding your community together. Next slide. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for all your time and attention tonight. I know that this topic brings out a lot of emotion, and rightfully so. Change is hard, housing is personal. But I hope you've seen tonight that Bayline is not about lowering standards or forcing something onto this community. It's about giving hardworking people a fair shot at staying in the city they contribute to every day. It's about building something thoughtful, lasting, and respecting of Hercules' character. I don't have all the answers, but I will promise to keep showing up to the city of Hercules with transparency, accountability, and commitment to quality. With that, I will open up to your comments, and I thank you for showing up tonight.
And Mayor, that concludes our presentation. We'll turn it back over to the council for questions, comments, and also to hear comments from the public.
Thank you. Okay, so just first of all, thank you to staff for the detailed report from our director. That was very detailed. For those who want to know where that's located in the agenda, if you go online, there's a 7-page, I think it is, report. That's what Mr. Rood was reading from. We all have that in front of us here. So some things that may seem like, how do we know? It's because it's in the report, and those things were reviewed by our city attorney as well. So that's just a little bit of background as to what the council may have that you may not see in front of you on the a very short agenda that's there. So there's an agenda report that goes along with that. So again, thank you to Tim and his team for that. And then thank you to Samantha from Community Housing Works for the presentation here. This is a unique process for us. I'm just going to repeat some of the things that I heard during the presentation, one of which is that the city has not determined if this development qualifies for SB 35 or SB 423. So that has not been determined. What we did here was that the law requires that once this has been submitted, we have to have this process. That's new. That law just went into effect in 2024. Before that, this process was not required by law. That's the SB 423, right? These are things that are mentioned in that report. Additionally, what I think the developer may be looking for is ministerial approval. Ministerial approval means that the council and the planning commission that normally gets involved with these processes may not be allowed to be involved with that process. That has not been determined per Mr. Rood. That won't be determined until a complete application has been submitted. What has been submitted to date, residents normally would not even know had been submitted, right? Because it's not a complete application. But this new law, this process requires this start early. Okay, so we want residents to know that as they come up and speak, we want you to give thoughtful, insightful information, but we want you to be informed when you come up and speak. So this presentation, again, was required by us, staff, under SB 423. Additionally, Government Code 65915, 65918, that's the density law. That law is what gives these incentives, concessions, and waivers. That's referenced in SB 35. So these are things that are in the report. I'm just repeating them out loud. We know, as Mr. Rood mentioned, we do have a waterfront development master plan, and that is what many residents 20 years ago, I think it was signed in 2008, were part of. We do have that process, but our state legislators have come up with a new process, and they didn't ask me for that process. So we are where we are with that, but we do have that. Mr. Rood also mentioned the regional housing needs allocation. So our city, as all cities, must show that we can build affordable housing. What I heard Mr. Rood say is 344 very low housing. That's what the city is tasked with doing. If we don't do it, there are penalties. We must also produce low income, 187 units, 127 moderate units, and 327, I left a word off, I think it's the next step up from audit, I apologize, on that. So we do have this as ground rules that we all come into as we have this meeting. Okay. I have had the opportunity to meet and communicate with many residents about the concerns here over the project. I have been careful not to give my opinion because we may have to adjudicate this at some point here if we have a public hearing on that, if that gets to that point. What I do want to do is ask a question to our city attorney that many residents have asked me. If this project is determined after it is submitted and it is reviewed not to qualify for SB 35, and that determination has not been made yet, how would that process go forward after that? So could they still build this, and would it still qualify for density because it is affordable housing? So kind of a two-part question there.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If this project, if when staff gets the full and formal application and determines that this project doesn't qualify for SB 35 streamlining ministerial review, then it would go through the regular application process. It could still be eligible for density bonuses. It could still be eligible for incentives and concessions, and it would go through the regular development review process, which might include design review, and go to the planning commission and potentially, up to the city council, depending on what permits are needed, whether anything's appealed. But it would go through the regular development application review process.
Okay, so we have two things there. One is that if it doesn't qualify for SB 35, that has not been determined yet, it would go through the normal process. So we know that as we prepare to ask questions, okay? Last thing I want to point out is that as we prepare for public comment, for those that are outside, there are public comment cards on the right here in front of us, right next to the dais. We'd ask that you please fill one out and then turn it into our city clerk, and we'll try and answer all those questions. Remember that we have 2 minutes for public comment, 2 minutes. I will hit the gavel until you stop at that point, not to be rude, but there's about 60 seats, so that's 120 minutes, plus the standing will be here tomorrow morning if we don't try to adhere to the time on that. Also, for those that are new to a public council meeting, public comments are made, there is no response back. Okay, so we're not ignoring you. That's just the process. We're going to use the similar process we use for a public hearing. So I'm going to start with council with questions. Likely we want to hear from you first, but I'm going to ask council first. We'll then go to the public for questions and then come back to council for questions again. Okay, as you prepare to make your public comments, please remember that if this does qualify for SB 35, this is the time to make comments on the development about things you like and dislike. Because if it qualifies for SB 35, we will not have that design review process. So if there's things we want to urge the developer to consider, they are here and they are listening. Okay, and with that, I will turn over to council for any questions, if any councilors have any questions. Councilmember Grimsley, and then I think Vice Mayor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question will be quick. This is just regarding our compliance with the state bills. In terms of a timeline, by when do we need to be in compliance with SB 35, SB 423 with regard to building low-income housing?
Those requirements are actually from the state housing law, not SB 35. So we are required at all times to have that capacity throughout the 8-year planning cycle from 2023 to 2031.
And what, if any, penalties do we face as a city if we continue to not be in compliance?
Under a recently passed state law, the Attorney General may assess penalties of up to, I believe, $50,000 a month against cities for not complying with their housing requirements.
Thank you, Councilmember Grimsley. Vice Mayor Kelly.
Yes, thank you. I do have a number of questions. I'd like to hear comments from the public first, but I'd like to direct one question to the city manager. And that is, Mr. City Manager, who in the city would be responsible for reviewing and approving the density bonus incentives or waivers? Would it be staff or would it be the city council? In other words, who is the approving body for those incentives and or waivers?
That would be our community development director who would make that determination.
Okay, so the city
If I-
council would not weigh in?
If I may, Mr. City Manager, the city, the council may recall that last year you adopted state density bonus law by reference in order to have to avoid updating it every cycle the legislature went through. So state density bonus law is part of our zoning. And the review process and the review of the density bonus would occur along with the overall project review, say at Planning Commission. I wouldn't make a separate determination myself ministerially regarding density bonus. It would be made by whoever the decision maker is on the project as part of the overall approval.
Okay, and then here's the other question I have, and that is, who makes the determination as to whether or not SB 35, SB 423 applies?
Staff in consultation with the city attorney.
And does the city council have the opportunity to weigh in on that?
My understanding is no.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Kelly, Councilmember Batarai, and then Councilmember Walker Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. Thank you for the presentation. And I have a quick question regarding this. Applicant is seeking either density bonus incentive or concession or the waivers listed in page number 257 with the 8 listed bullet points. My understanding, please clarify, not understanding, please clarify, is the applicant seeking either one or both?
Sorry, I don't have your page numbers. Okay, that's the wording that the applicant provided in their pre-application about the waivers and concessions, all 7 of those. 6? 8.
There are 8 of them.
All 8.
Yeah. So my question was, is the applicant seeking the waiver of bonus density in lieu of this 8 listed below this 8 or they are looking for both the concession or waiver?
They're seeking the height bonus that's allowed by state density bonus law, as well as 8 waivers or concessions from development standards. Now, I note that 2 of the waivers or concessions refer to height. So if they're entitled to the height under density bonus, that wouldn't also, I don't believe, use up an incentive or a concession. But again, that we're way ahead of that process.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Councilmember Batarai. Councilmember Walker Griffin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Director Rude and the gentlewoman who gave the presentation. You mentioned the RENA numbers and kind of broke that down a little bit. Can you elaborate on how Hercules received those numbers, and also is it something that's adjustable?
Great question. I'll start with the second part. No, actually, a 2024 state law specifically ruled out the appeal process for the RENA determination that used to exist, although few, if any, jurisdictions ever successfully appealed their RENA determination. They are made at the state level based on a statewide growth model, then parceled out to regional bodies, like in our case, the Association of Bay Area Governments, which then parcels them out to individual jurisdictions. And so once those numbers hit us, we were already kind of late getting started in getting our housing element developed in order to be able to adopt it 10 months later, which is what the state guidelines call for. It's literally impossible to create a housing element and get it adopted within a 10-month period. So, you'd have to get it perfectly right on the very first try, which very few, if any, jurisdictions were able to do in the last cycle.
Oh, I've seen. You also said the term CEQA. I'm familiar with it, but I know some people may not be. Could you elaborate on what that is?
Sure. CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, so it requires any agency that's making a decision that might have a significant effect on the environment to study and disclose, and in some cases mitigate those impacts until they are less than significant. So every planning decision that comes before you or me or the Planning Commission will have a CEQA, is required to have a CEQA determination attached to it.
It's been kind of a hot topic in the legislature up in Sacramento these past two sessions. Could you elaborate on just sort of the things that you've been hearing about reforms to it or anything that might possibly be coming? No, it's a loaded question.
Getting a little off our agenda topic. Maybe we should have a sidebar conversation about that. I know there are a lot of bills out there and I haven't been tracking them all closely.
Thank you. And that was it for me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so there was an acronym used there, so I want to we use RENA, which is Residential Housing Needs Allocation. That was the 900 units we talked about at the beginning, right? So those are our RENA numbers, which we just heard are required. Okay, any other questions or comments from council?
So,
Vice Mayor Kelly?
yeah, Mr. Mayor, I really would like to hear from the community first, and then I have a number of questions. So could we go ahead and hear from them unless council has more questions?
Yeah, I do have a couple. So with parking, that's something I've heard a lot from residents about. Is parking coming from the waterfront development master plan? Was a statement made that, for this type of development, in the community that's being served by the development, there's a fantastic number of parking spaces required, a fantastically small number, which was 0, I think. And just where does that come from? Is that from master plan or is that from the law?
I'm not sure I'm following.
In the development, there is 0 parking spots required, I think is what it was, but they're going to have 87 or so spots. The 0 required, where does that come from?
WDMP, as well as more recent state law, AB 2097.
Okay, there's WDMP Waterfront Development Master Plan, as well as
AB 2097.
Okay, so we have our waterfront master plan actually has that in it, and then also the state law has it in it as well. So it's coming from 2 places. These are things that I've seen on social media, and I'd hope that we don't, understand them before they come ask the questions. So thank you with that. I do think it's time to go to the public unless there's any more comments. So we're gonna start calling the public up. Our city clerk will do that. If you come to the podium, again, remember 2 minutes. And then you'll start hearing me hitting the gavel. I hope that you'll respect that the gavel's being hit so that we can let the next speaker come up and speak.
Anthony Rangel, come up to the podium, please.
Hello, good evening. I just want to quickly state my concerns with this project. I do want to say that I really have concerns with the height of the building if it were to go through, and the parking as well. So suggestion might be for the residents that have lived in Hercules, the waterfront area for a while, is possibly have some kind of permitting parking for those residents that live there if this project were to go through. And again, my last statement is the height. If we could take the height into consideration and possibly bring it down to 3 stories if this were to go through. All right, thank you.
Rob Schaffenville.
Good evening, Mayor Bailey, council, and representatives from Community Housing Works. My name is Rob Schaffenbill. I serve on the city's planning commission. Due to the proximity of my residence to this proposed project, I would need to recuse myself should this item come before the planning commission. And so tonight I'm just speaking as a resident. I want to begin by saying that I, along with many of my neighbors, support affordable housing. We welcome the opportunity to bring new residents into our community and believe this project could be something truly special. And that's why I want to frame my comments tonight around Community Housing Works' own values, which Samantha glossed over and said we could read ourselves. I believe they're values that our community shares. I'd like to frame my comments around that tonight because unfortunately this project does not uphold those values. The first is service above self. CHW claims to serve residents and stakeholders first, yet this project disregards the community-driven waterfront district master plan, a vision shaped through years of deep local input and collaboration. The proposed 5-story buildings loom over neighborhooding 2-story homes and eliminates the commercial space that is designed to activate Bayfront Boulevard. That is not selfless service. That's self-interest overriding a shared vision. Second, reach for excellence. CHW says it goes the extra mile for resident stakeholders in the community, but this proposal leans on claims of robust transit access that simply doesn't hold up. The only bus line, the GX line, is infrequent, does not run on weekends, and will be disrupted by this very construction. The hub, years away, $100 million, yet to be secured in funding. Excellence requires honesty and alignment with reality, not overstating transit access to justify outsized density. Third, respect people's dignity and believe in their potential. SB 35 limits public involvement, but respect means listening, not just informing. This meeting is the first and only community outreach that CHW has done, and it's happening only because the law requires it. Many of us here support affordable housing
Mr.
and want
Schofield,
to build a better
Mr.
version
Schofield,
of this project that
Mr.
reflects
Schofield.
our shared potential,
Mr.
one that
Schofield.
aligns with the WDMP.
Mr. Schofield, please, you are a public servant here as well. Please, Mr. Schofield, Mr. Schofield.
Listen to us and collaborate with us, and we will build something that develops good community trust here in Hercules. Yeah.
So I'm going to remind the public that's here, we have to stick to the 2-minute rule, otherwise it's not fair, right? Because then I want to speak for 12 minutes and et cetera, and then we go on forever. So I ask everybody, please respect that as we come up and speak. We want to hear from all of you, but we need to be able to do that in an orderly fashion. City Clerk.
Michelle Sylvia.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Sylvia. I live in the Promenade. I've been here 20 years. I am a retired law enforcement officer, crime scene investigator from the city of Oakland. So my concern is, one, parking, all the crazy speed racing going on. We can't even get a police officer to come to the neighborhood. And trust me, I'm the one that calls. I'm the one that calls because I know how dangerous it is. The 4th of July last year or the year before, and the year before, myself and a neighbor had to get out there and direct traffic. If you live in Promenade, you know how congested it is. We can't get a police officer. I just did the math and I spoke to the chief for a brief second asking how many officers we have. 26 officers. That is like 9.8 officers per 10,000 people. We have 26,000 to 28,000 people right now that we know of. Do the math, folks. We're smart people. You can't get somebody, and I'm sorry, no disrespect, Chief. I'm from Oakland. I know what it's like. And I know your hands are tied, but what's the plan? Are we going to hire more police officers to deal with this low-income housing situation we have and the parking situation we have? We only can park on one side of the street. Most people don't even have a deep driveway like I do, where I can get 4 cars in my driveway. My kids have to park 2 blocks away. Come on, that's ridiculous. We've been waiting 20 years for the hub, whatever you want to call it, the marina. the train station that drives right by my house every day. I'm sick of waiting for that, but yet we can get a freaking low-income housing built in a lickety-split 1 year. I'm angry, I'm stressed, I'm upset, just like everybody else here. And I want to know, what the hell are we going to do? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Giorgio Cosentino. Giorgio Cosentino. I'm also going to have Irina Galina come up and just stand behind, getting prepared to talk, please.
Yeah, hi, Mayor Bailey, sorry, and members of the council. In my hands right here, I have these are cufflinks from my great uncle in Chicago. He was an alderman, which is like a mayor of a neighborhood. And I read about him in a book and about Chicago and development. He led a bloody revolt, a riot in this neighborhood when they tried to build something like this in his neighborhood. I have these cufflinks with me to remind me to not be my great uncle. Okay, I'm not that kind of person. I think about my own situations, trying to find a place to live. I worked at a vet hospital. I lived in the veterinary hospital. I showered out in the dog kennel. So, I mean, you know, I've experienced what it's like to try to find a home around here. And if I didn't meet my wife, yeah, I don't know where I'd be living right now. So you guys are stuck with me in Hercules. Okay. But what I want to say about the project, what I'm seeing is it's the enormity, the size of it. I just want to make sure we got something that follows common sense. We heard about the infrastructure that we seem to be lacking right now. I think about traffic, safety, the impact on the schools. We're already having a hard time with our school district. And, you know, so I just want to know that all these things have been addressed and well thought out. And I mean, we want housing for all of us. And I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Constantino. Irina's right next.
I'll have Maria Tapia come up to prepare to speak.
May I start?
Ms. Galieva.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and City of Hercules residents. My name is Irina Galieva, and I live in the prominent neighborhood adjacent to the proposed Bayline project. I fully support affordable housing in Hercules, and we all understand why we need to meet all of the requirements, and most importantly, from the moral standpoint, why it's necessary. However, this proposal is not the right fit for this location. The current design significantly conflicts with the adopted Waterfront District Master Plan, a community-driven vision intended to guide thoughtful, walkable, and well-integrated development. The Bayline project proposes a 5-story, 62-foot building with 107 units, but no retail, no ownership opportunities, and insufficient parking. We understand it's not required, but we also understand what impact it's going to have on community and safety. While SB 35 limits discretionary review, it still requires conformance with objective standards in the waterfront plan, which is the project fails to meet. First, the waterfront plan calls for buildings that scale appropriately to their surroundings. This proposal places a full 5-story wall with no stepbacks next to 2-story homes, disrupting the low-rise character of our neighborhood. It will likely cast shadows and create solar access and privacy concerns for nearby homes. It's obvious from the renderings, which are preliminary, how the shadows from 2-story buildings go over the side. Now imagine sun goes over and 5-story building covers probably 3, 4, 5 rows of homes. Second, the plan promotes a mix of rental and ownership units, but this project includes only rentals. The lack of diversity undermines the long-term community stability. Third, the plan emphasizes mixed-use development, especially in areas near transit and commercial nodes. The project
Galeva,
offers no
Thank
ground
you for
floor
the comment.
retail
You
and
can always
community.
submit it for the record, but
I just want to say one last thing, please, 20 seconds. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to shape the future of Hercules waterfront. The
you.
waterfront district master plan is not just a guideline. It's a community-driven vision meant to ensure thoughtful, cohesive, and sustainable growth. And it's the vision. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Maria Tapia. I'm going to have Susan Keefe come up, please.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to address the safety issue. I live in an area where there was that murder, and I know that they did everything they can, the police department, everything, and I do not want to see my safety be jeopardized again. I'm thankful that I didn't know that we had that short of cops on duty. That frightens me. I want to feel safe here. I understand we need housing. I understand, but I want to feel safe. You have in 2 years, you're going to build this development, but in 2 years, are you going to be able to hire that many officers to protect us? We already see a lot of crime here on a daily basis. I have friends that work at Lucky's, stealing all the time there. And they come in the morning, they come in the evening, and there's nothing we can do. You just have to turn the blind side. And I don't want to have that keep going on. And now they have to go populate more, and we don't populate the population of the police department and the fire department. I don't think that's fair. So I'm hoping that that would be in consideration for the safety of our children that already exist here and our family members, seniors here. A lot of people still hold on to their homes where I live. They're older gentlemen, older ladies, and I want them to be protected and feel safe as I have before, and I don't feel that way as of now. And then with this development, it scared me. For the safety, the police department can't get to them at a fast time as they did in the past. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment, Ms. Keefe.
My name is Susan Keefe. I've been a resident of Hercules for over 37 years and a resident of Promenade for almost 20 years. I'm opposed to the Bayline proposal to stick 2 5-story apartment buildings on Bayfront Boulevard at the end of quiet, tree-lined residential streets. The proposed project attempts to skip all the usual building requirements and permits and hopes to fast-track 2 5-story for low, very low, and moderate affordable income apartments. These buildings violate the City of Hercules standards and the Waterfront Development Master Plan. Several years ago, volunteer residents from all over Hercules met in a lengthy series of meetings and workshops with the then acting city manager, Charles Long, to draft out what the citizens envisioned for the waterfront. I participated in those workshops, and I remember them well. We spent hours working through design elements and requirements, including zoning, location, traffic patterns, building styles, and so on. The result was a waterfront development master plan. It was voted in and adapted into law by the City Council. That plan envisioned the land use under consideration as multi-use with no more than 3 stories and podium parking underneath so as not to disrupt traffic and pedestrians at Bayfront Boulevard. This project meets none of the WDMP design requirements. The plan for 107 units only includes parking for 87 parking spaces. It does not describe if some of those spaces will be covered parking or designated for the disabled. While the project brags about offering something that it is not technically required, it still fails to take into consideration that the adjoining streets of Railroad Avenue, Ernest Street, and Promenade Street only allow for parking on one side of the street. Bayfront Boulevard also has parking limited to one side of the street in some areas. Bayfront Boulevard has no sidewalks. It is frequented by dog walkers, joggers, families with strollers, bicyclists, walkers, and others enjoying the views and access to the Bay Trail. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe.
Juan Ancola. Juan Ancola.
Good evening, Major Bailey, Vice Major Chris Kelly, and everybody else in the community. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to express myself. First, I'd like to start off by saying that I feel honest and blessed to belong to such a beautiful community, such as the waterfront. And I know my neighbors, Adam, Angelo, who just left. He's a hardworking man, just as I am. I used to live over in Richmond, near a low housing community development. And there was nothing else more than crime, drugs, drunkenness, and unsafety. I have two daughters, one who is 11 years old, the other one's 15 years old. I moved to a community and I worked so hard and I prepared myself. I worked 2 jobs and I'm still leaving to work at 2 a.m. in the morning. By the time that I'm leaving, my neighbor is coming back from his job. You can't say that because you're earning $17.77 an hour, you won't be able to afford such a house and that it needs to be built for them, because no one builds it for me. And I'm not saying that it's not fair. And I don't have anything against it. What I'm against it is what it brings. It brings nothing more than problems, crime, and drugs. And I feel very unsafe for the well-being of my daughters. And I believe that this development that you guys are trying to build right over at the waterfront, it is a disgrace for the aesthetic of the community. It invades my privacy because it's five-story building, and the nightmare that it's going to create in regards to parking. As far as for what you have established in regards to transportation, that was done because you knew what was going to happen.
Thank you for the comment.
Nicholas?
Hello, good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to share some concerns about the proposed housing at Hercules Waterfront, specifically the 100% affordable housing at Bayline and just the 10% proposed affordable housing at the Loop site, which is also a large rental development that's being proposed right now in Hercules. I strongly support affordable housing, and ample research shows that where we build it and how we build it matters for equity, opportunity, and the long-term well-being of families. Bayline is seeking streamlined approval under SB 35, but even its eligibility is in question. The law requires that 75% of the site's perimeter be surrounded by developed land. Today, Bayline is still surrounded by open space and undeveloped parcels, raising real concerns about whether it qualifies. And it's important to remember why that 75% in full rule exists: to ensure affordable housing is built where residents have access to jobs, schools, services, and public transportation. The law was designed to prevent low-income families from being placed where basic daily needs and infrastructure are lacking. Unfortunately, that's precisely what's the case at Bayline today. Transit service is extremely limited. The Westcat bus comes only every 30 minutes. There are no nearby stores or services to walk to. With no school bus system, families must face long daily commutes, driving their kids to and from school during normal work hours. Low-income residents, many of whom may not own a car, would face real daily hardships living in this space in such concentrations. Much of the justification for calling Bayline a transit-oriented site rests on the long-planned Hercules transit hub, but that project has remained a dream for nearly 20 years. With over $100 million still needed, it may remain a dream for another 20. And while hope is important, low-income households are not served by our hopes for transit, right? So finally, there's a real risk of economic segregation. 100% affordable at Bayline and just 10% at the Loop site. This would concentrate nearly all new low-income families in Hercules into only one housing community in one part of town. Decades of research show that mixed income communities lead to better outcomes, especially for children, and build stronger and more inclusive communities. We can do better. Let's do Bayline at 3 floors. Let's do Loop site at 40 to 50%. Let's do both.
Thank you very much for the comment.
Nadine Vargas? Nadine Vargas? Okay. Angela Dabb?
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members and staff. I just wanted to voice my concerns and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. Again, is back to the summary of parking is not enough in our area, in our neighborhood. By adding more families with cars will burden the neighborhood, and from parking ratio is insufficient as addressed. The beauty of the Bayfront is that the citizens and visitors of Hercules have the place to recreate via the few access points by Bay Trail. The question is, where will they park while visiting? There would be too much traffic in the area as there is only 3 access points into that portion of the Hercules. How does this affect city resources such as police, fire, and public works? Our resources are already spread thinly, and I don't think this project will bring enough revenue to offset the cost. Lastly, 5-story is way too high for this project. This takes away the view for everyone, not just the neighborhood, is for everyone. Please make a difference by being the council that turned down this project. Thank you for your time.
I have Rodrigo Pahati, Nick Goodwin, and Tanya Little come up, please. Have Rodrigo go first, please.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, residents. I also am opposed to this project. I live in the Promenade neighborhood. My wife and I moved here from the city to find a nice community, to get away from these problems of where you have crowdedness, lack of parking, issues with schools, issues with transportation. And we moved here, and the last thing we want to do is be next to something that doesn't complement the neighborhood, something that dominates the neighborhood. 5 stories high, complementing. We came here with the vision of being in a community that had homes, businesses, restaurants, a thriving waterfront. This is not a thriving waterfront that you're envisioning. You are taking away our vision, our hopes. We moved here. We got married and moved into our home. We brought our kids home from the hospital. We raised them there. They are graduates of the public school system here. We are proud of this. Our plan was to retire here and bequeath what little pittance that we have to our children, and you are taking that dream away. And SB 35, it's a shame. It's a land grab. It takes away our voices as a community, as a municipality. It quiets us because it takes away the discretion with this ministerial review, and just a land grab.
Thank you very much for the comment. Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Little, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Tanya Little. I'm a 33-year resident and homeowner of Hercules. I live in a townhome nowhere near this community. I have also submitted a written comment for the record to the council, Mr. Hall, Mr. Rude, Community Housing Works, and all developers. Please design solutions to improve our community's infrastructure stability and sustainability as you plan to build mixed-use housing and commercial spaces for our community based in our city written plans. City staff, please continue to timely update plans to comply with state laws and the sustainable use of parcels for our community. Please, let's be clear, with the rise of working unhoused families, individuals, seniors, and people with disabilities, we need to provide housing sooner rather than later. Ms. Isel, thank you for your presentation. The two to 3-story buildings are reasonable for this area. City plans do not include parking because this area is planned to be for transportation hub. I encourage the developer to meet the requirements well documented in the waterfront plan, specifically building height. Council and city staff, SB 35 enacts Government Code Section 65913.4. It allows denial of a ministerial application when projects do not meet city written plans. If when the application is submitted and it fails to meet the approved written waterfront plan for these parcels, please exercise your authority and deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Little.
Jeremy Lacrico, Vic Dolmov, and April Mercado, please come up.
Good evening, council and mayor, residents of Hercules. My name is Jeremy Lacrico. I live on Ernest Street and have been there for the last 6 years. I know SB 35 pretty well. During my day job, I am the planning manager for the city of Hayward. I have approved 6 SB 35 applications that has resulted in over 500 new housing units. And I've also denied 3 others because they have failed to meet the eligibility requirement. When implemented correctly, SB 35 provides a very effective path to streamlining projects that align with the city's adopted goals, policies, and standards. However, when it's used to circumvent these criteria, it undermines the intent of the law, as well as the local planning efforts, such as implementation of the Waterfront District Master Plan. I don't think I need to reiterate, the SB 35 has a very clear parameters. I can just say from Director Rude and from City Attorney Crowell, the 75% parameter threshold is undisputable. This project does not qualify for SB 35 streamlining. And the more that you try to push this issue, the bigger liability not only are you putting on yourself from our community, but a liability that you're also putting on our community and the leaders and the residents that call this place home. While the state does allow for waivers and concessions as part of density bonus law, the city does have a careful obligation and responsibility to review each of these requests to determine whether or not it fully meets the extent of density bonus law and whether or not it would render a project infeasible. I would also highlight that although the staff report indicates that there are no density requirements or maximums in the district master plan, state density bonus law is really clear and very specific that when a district or master plan or specific plan does not have anything, they need to revert to the general plan. The last thing I would say is that I'm not opposed to affordable housing, which is needed and necessary, but this isn't about being easy. It's about being a developer with integrity. It's about meeting with the applicants before a submittal and as application is
Thank you
submitted.
very much. Thank you very much. Sir Director.
I thought I was going to be the cutest one, here tonight. Hey, guys. I worked for the Contra Costa County Building Department as a senior plans examiner for several years. I'm currently with the federal agency. I interpret these laws. This is what I do daily for a living. There's something that keeps getting missed when we talk about this 75% perimeter development of the lineal foot, and that is this. I'm holding SB 35 in my hand. The SB 423 does not actually amend this. It only amends the definition, which actually makes it stricter, making it less likely for the project to qualify. Okay, specifically, a site in which at least 75% of the perimeter of the site adjoins parcels that are developed with urban uses. For the purposes of this section, parcels that are only separated by a street or highway shall be considered to be adjoined. Shall. The city department, planning department cannot choose. They have to remove Bayfront Boulevard, slide the parcels I or whatever it is down, adjoin these 2 parcels, you're not even going to meet 50%. There's a gentleman who talked about the 75% rule. That's exactly why this is in the law. They accounted for this actually because we are suburban. We are not urban. Suburban, right? So this needs to be struck down on these grounds because there's not a judge in this state that's going to look at this and say that this project should have been approved, right? It's not going to happen. This is what I live, folks. This is what I do every single day. So last thing, in case there's any questions, the bill actually defines urban uses. Any current or former residential, commercial, public, institutional, transit, or transportation passenger facility or retail use or any combination of those uses. The fact that Ledcor hasn't gotten down there yet actually helps us out because those are empty parcels that have never been developed. Okay? So do the right thing, please. Do the right thing. Thank you.
It's all right. Okay, sorry.
Ready? Yeah. Good evening, Mayor Bailey, Vice Mayor Kelly, council members, and City Manager Hall. My name is Ariel Mercado, and I'm proud to be part of a community that's spent over 20 years thoughtfully shaping our vision for the waterfront, one that connects people, transit, in a sustainable manner. This is a vision that still matters. While we recognize the need for affordable housing, the use of SB 35 to fast track a high-density project raises serious concerns about preserving the integrity of that long-term vision. We are not anti-housing. We are pro-community, pro-planning, and pro-partnership. Thank you, Samantha, for your presentation. It's refreshing to hear developers like Community Housing Works who seem to share those values. But we ask for development that fits, not overwhelms, the character and planning principles that define Hercules. The proposed density on blocks F and H is significant and deserves careful integration to our broader waterfront strategy. SB 35 should not be used as a tool to bypass public dialogue. That's why we respectfully call on our Assembly Member Buffy Wicks and Senator Jesse Arguin to stand with Hercules community and ensure this project is shaped with the meaningful input from their constituents. We want to be partners in this process, and we hope that they'll help in making that possible.
Thank you.
I have Mary Sambahone, Adeline Chen, and Magdalena Mercado come up, please. We'll start with Mary Sambahone.
And as they're coming up, I just want to remind folks that may have just come into the meeting that the council is not making any actions tonight. We are taking public comments. So the council is not voting on anything to approve anything. We're just taking public comment. And please, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Mary Sambajon. I was raised here in Hercules, left for college, and chose to return to raise my children in the community that I love. I currently reside across from properties owned by Curry. And for the past 15 years, I've watched these structures sit neglected with no real effort from the property owner or pressure from the city council to address the growing blight. Aside from occasional weed trimming, there's been minimal maintenance. The boarded up, fenced off structures are more than just an eyesore. They pose safety risks, attract trespassers, and diminish the quality of life for nearby residents. This longstanding inaction raises serious questions about accountability and vision for our city. Now, with the current development in question, I ask, how does this project move forward unnoticed? What happened to the waterfront master plan? Why is more housing being pushed when Hercules is clearly struggling with economic growth? With a stronger economic base, we will continue losing tax revenue to neighboring cities and straining already limited resources. We need development that strengthens our city, not just adds to it. We need leadership that prioritizes revitalization, safety, and sustainable economic planning. Building more housing without meaningful infrastructure or economic development is short-sighted and harmful in the long term. Please, let's protect our residents, our neighbors, and our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adeline Chen.
Hi. I think a lot of people have come up and said really eloquent things, and they've made very, very valid points. And I think those are all things that my husband and I have thought about and consider. Safety, infrastructure, resources, parking, all that stuff that comes into play. I think that, I was raised in Hercules and I lived out of state and out of country for 20 years. And I came back. And when I looked for a home, the waterfront felt like home. And it was because of the environment, the character, and just the walkability and the neighbors. And we have really, really enjoyed our time since moving back. I think that we all know that affordable housing is necessary, especially in this state, especially if you've lived out of this state and moved back. It's important, it is valid, and it is something that, Samantha, I appreciate that you spoke to the incomes that are needed. I think the issue for a lot of us is the density, right? And we talk about dignity of residents, dignity of the community, and I hope that you can respect the dignity of the residents and the community that live here now, and that we can have a dialogue to talk about this density. If you can pencil it in and make the numbers work where we can bring those 5 stories is really dense. If you come down to that waterfront and you see that, it's not gonna fit there. As much as we have that need, it really doesn't fit in that waterfront. There are no resources for that. There's no parking for that. There's so many things that it's lacking. There's a need, we can work together. Let's build something that benefits all of us. We want to be good neighbors and we want to have good neighbors. So
my name is Magdalena Sambajon Mercado. I'm 17 years old and I grew up here in Hercules my entire life. I attended public school here through 5th grade, but eventually had to leave. The class wasn't getting the attention or support I needed to thrive academically. And it wasn't until I was homeschooled and later enrolled in a private school over in Walnut Creek that my academic path truly changed. That shift made me realize how much environment matters for a student's success. That's why I'm here today, deeply concerned about the proposed affordable housing development. While I fully understand the need for more housing, I have to ask, how will our schools handle the increased student population? Will this lead to even more overcrowded classrooms? What plans are in place to support our teachers and ensure every child receives a quality education? We cannot continue to add families without also investing in the infrastructure they rely on, our schools, public safety, and emergency services. Development should not come at the cost of a child's education or the quality of life that brought families like mine to Hercules in the first place. As a student who experienced firsthand what it's like to be lost in an overcrowded system, I urge you to consider the full impact of this proposal, not just the housing, but the long-term needs of our city and its children. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Mercado. I'll have Eliana Mercado and Serafina Mercado come up, please.
My name is Eliana Sambajon Mercado, and I'm 15 years old. I left the local school system because it didn't work for me. It was overcrowded, underfunded, and didn't give me the support I needed. That shouldn't be the norm and shouldn't continue to be the solution for children like me. Now, there's a 107-unit development being planned, and I'm asking, what's the plan for students who will live there? Will there be new schools? Will the class sizes go up? If this project moves forward without a plan to support education, then the city is setting up its students to fail. I hope you take into consideration more than just buildings. I hope you prioritize the future we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before our next speaker speaks, I should have addressed this. For those that are attending on Zoom, and I do see a couple of hands raised there, our tradition is that we listen to comments in the council chambers first, and then we will go to the comments on Zoom. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Serafina Sambajon Mercado, and I'm 10 years old. I'm going to be a rising 5th grader at a private school. I live on Railroad Avenue, which is already a very busy street, and sometimes it doesn't feel safe for kids like me to play outside, considering everyone knows everybody. If the new development is built, I can only imagine how much more traffic there will be. Is the city ready for that? Can the streets, which are already really narrow, really handle more cars and people? Also, will the city and emergency services will be able to help more residents if something goes wrong? These are important things to think about. I hope as these plans are developed that you do not forget the safety of the residents, especially kids who live here now. Thank you.
Thank you. And to our city clerk. What was her name? Her name?
Serafina.
Serafina. That was amazing. Thank you.
Could I have Nancy Arms and Vince Taboada, Marianne Padera come up, please?
You ready? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. My comments really are for Community Housing Works. So I've spent time on your website. So I've read about a lot of the descriptions for your projects and the things that you've done. You've been around since 1988. Your communities all seem active on nearby transit, job opportunity, fit to surrounding communities, access to services, and they seem to achieve 100% accuracy, occupancy. So how do we compare? And first, I think for the density change, for over 20 years, the plans for these lots was for townhomes, not 100+ families. The sign, the posts for the original sign are still standing out there on the lot. The area bordered by your site, so Bayfront up to Sycamore, that's currently 113 homes, and we're going to be adding another 100. This seems to double the density in a tiny space. That doesn't seem to be positive for you, for us, for anyone. It also doesn't seem like you've had that type of density impact on any of your other communities that I could see on the website. And I didn't look at all of them, okay? But our building height at the proposed 5 stories, the proposed height, this complex, it's going to tower over our community. It's going to look disproportionate to your tenants and the existing community. So what will potential tenants see when they look at this looming structure? Most of your other properties don't seem to be this height. You've got tower projects, especially those in National City. None of them were adjacent to single-family homes that I could see on your website. I mean, the height difference we're talking about, the proposed 60 feet versus our houses, which are 32 to 38 feet. And again, it's like, how do you see that fitting with other your projects? Transit. We have no transit. I know the city says we've got this transit hub. We've been here over 20 years. We have no transit. My 2 minutes? All right.
Thank you for the comment.
Hi, my name is Vincent Taboada. I'm a resident of Hercules. My wife and I moved here and we bought into the waterfront master plan and we liked the vision. And we would hope that a developer that's seeking to come into the community would respect the community's vision and want to be part of it. We would hope that the developer would cooperate, reach out, workshop, work with the community, and see what works. The waterfront was intended to be, some described the Sausalito of the East Bay. If you're going to do something that's just solely residential and doesn't activate the waterfront, how is that going to improve the community for its residents and for your own occupants? What else do I have to say? The other thing that is unique about this property that I would encourage the developer to consider is that you really have no backside. So when you do develop whatever you do, if you're allowed to move forward, consider that the backside of your development will be facing single-family homes. So whatever you put back there can't just be plain, right? We'll have to look at that every day. I would encourage the city to work with the developer. As many people said, we appreciate housing, but we want it done respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marianne Pedraza.
Hello all. I am not against affordable housing. It is a social determinant of health inequity. I am a single mom and I am raising my kids on my own. I live in Promenade. I've been there for almost 20 years and my wonderful neighbors are like a second set of parents to my kids. However, with addressing social determinants of health, environment is detrimental to health outcomes. Enhancing our community means to preserve our current environmental space. Our current community thrives in social support, the natural environment. Research studies have shown that Richmond is turning to more green spaces, growing community open spaces. And by doing so, it is increasing the physical and mental health of the community, especially youth and adolescents, giving hope for future outcomes. And this is the current community that we have. These new developments will be putting our community at higher risk for future health burdens, increasing physical and mental morbidity, possibly leading to adverse health outcomes for all age groups. Council, please protect the well-being and ensure positive health outcomes of your current residents. Thank you.
Selena Williams.
And thank you for the comment before. Thank you.
And the last name is, I believe it's Abdavia.
Hello, thank you, Council. Selena Williams. I live in the Bayside. I came to Hercules, escaping from Berkeley, escaping from San Francisco, where I had to drive for an hour to park my car. This is such a lovely community. We love our community. It is a refuge. It is beautiful. It is home. We have all made a commitment to this place. I would like to live here the rest of my life through my retirement. I don't want to see what we've built here destroyed. This is a unique and diverse place. You don't find a place like this many other places, in this country even. It's beautiful. I love my neighbors. We all know each other. We talk to each other. We want what we bought into, which was the waterfront development plan. Requesting waivers for all of our plans, everything that this community came together to develop is not respecting us, it's disrespecting us. It's disrespecting the people who invested here. We put everything, our blood, sweat, and tears went into our homes, into this community, and we need respect for that. Please, we don't need a 5-story monolith on the waterfront. It brings nothing to us, provides nothing for the community that already exists here. It's very special. People live here who don't feel safe living anywhere else for a lot of different reasons. I've suffered from housing discrimination in San Francisco, which is why I bought my home, so I don't have to suffer from that. Don't destroy my community. I came here for safety. I saved my life, my own life, coming here. It's important to us, okay? Don't take that away from us. It's not ministerial. SB 35 says protected wetlands are an exclusion. You can't build on those next to them. These are protected areas. We have wetland preserves. We have natural beauty of the environment, the bay, the Bay Trail.
Thank you, Ms.
Why would we destroy that?
Thank you so much for the comment.
Hi, good evening, Hercules. My name is Quais Abdullah. I've been a resident in Railroad Avenue for the past 15 years. I get the need for affordable housing, and I'm all for helping people find homes they can afford. But as someone who lives on this street and works in real estate, I just don't think this location makes sense for a project of this size. The city's already planning a ferry and terminal train station within 6 years, 8 years. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, please. Which is going to bring a lot of more traffic. Adding 107 new units and did I hear 87 parking spaces on top of that? We're going to feel congestion. Not to mention we've got families here, kids walking to the park, my brothers all in these on the same streets, riding bikes and going to school. It just doesn't feel like a safe and well thought out setup. I'm not against affordable housing at all, but cramming a high density development in this particular spot with all that's already coming isn't good planning. There has to be a better way to do something that fits this area, keeps people safe, and still meets the goal of affordable housing.
Thank you very much for the comment.
Tammy Cottle, Caitlin Nafiet, and Nick Goodwin.
Good evening, neighbor.
Hi, my name's Cami Cottle. I've lived in Hercules and hello to everybody. I've lived in Hercules for over 25 years. So the last 20 plus has been on the waterfront over on Avocet. And you know, everybody that has spoken before me has done an amazing job. I 100% back that everything that they've said, and they were very eloquent, and I'm not that eloquent. So I'm just gonna say I agree. And I also know that I'm speaking for some neighbors that couldn't be here tonight. I just gotta wonder why we're looking at housing, affordable housing on our waterfront when we have so many other spaces available in this area that we could use. So my proposal is that we work together and find that space, find the right space for Hercules and for the people that are in them. You said, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Some other people have said it so many times. You said it's not about forcing something on our community, but it sure feels that way. Yeah.
Thank you, Cami. Thank you.
Hey, hello, Mayor and council members. My name is Caitlin. I'm a psychologist in our school district, and it's always been really important for me to live in the community that I serve. My concerns are actually not specific to who may be living in this affordable housing project or who my neighbors might be. I've heard many people say that they're in support of affordable housing. However, my concerns are more related to traffic, crisis response, and congestion within the community. The location just isn't not right for us. It's not right for the people who might be living there and would benefit from this kind of housing option. It also exploits those who require affordable housing, job opportunities, and employment. We know that the research states that the two most critical pieces of affordable housing are job opportunities. That's not in Hercules right now. And also public transportation. Those of us who live in the community, it's just not there. And it's taking advantage of people in need, and I resent that. Additionally, there's a great deal of growing congestion in the waterfront. There's increase of cars on the road, there's speeding traffic, there's parking challenges as it stands. People cannot find parking currently. Additionally to that, I'm concerned about traffic and emergency response. I encourage you to please reach out to emergency crisis response people in our community because the response is not good. And this is going to make it more congested, more backed up. Lastly, sewage and infrastructure, I'm not going to go there. I don't think that it's going to pass those inspections. But lastly, I heard some of our youth speaking on this school enrollment. I heard over and over again that you care about the community. You did not reach out to our school district. You don't know the climate of our school systems right now. We have overcrowded classrooms, no staffing to fill those classrooms. Thank you.
And thank you very much for the comment.
Lynn.
That was fast. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lynn Schwabe. I live in Hercules. We've been here for about 7 years. Like so many people, we found Hercules in this wonderful waterfront community. We like to say there's a little bit of everything in Hercules in all of the best ways. And as that affordable housing does need to be a part of the Hercules community. I'm just going to echo a lot of what's already been said tonight, the 75% rule. I have some questions about that. But really, I wanted to just speak to what this 5-story building is in context of other buildings from this developer. If you look down to Southern California, you can see La Costa Paloma. They have 180 units over 13 acres. So this is a developer who, they will build things at a lower density. They have Esperanza Gardens. Again, it looks like it's a 2 or 3 story building. So we don't always have to come in at 5 stories. As far as the quality of other communities, just a quick review of what do residents feel about living in these communities. Concord was mentioned, and just quick Googling brought up concerns about cockroaches and poor management. In Sacramento, at the Salvatore Apartments, there was a murder in April. And so just as far as community safety, I want to make sure that we're bringing development in reasonably, responsibly, in a way that blends in with the community. Yeah, other than that, all the parking things have already been mentioned. Have a good night.
Thank you very much for the comment.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to make a public comment at this time?
My last name is Dan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Right.
Mhm.
Hi, my neighbors. It's first time I try to
If you
speak
can,
out
good
in
evening.
public.
I'm sorry to bother you. It's up to me. Since if you can just say your name, I didn't hear your name.
I keep it short. I keep it short. Sure.
Thank you so much.
Your name.
Oh, my name. Sorry. My name is Sarah Dunn. I think maybe some of my neighbor knows my name in our Facebook group. I'm so surprised that you guys come here to speak out. You know, English is not my first language, but this project pushed me to say out, you know. So I will try my best to express myself. I'll share a story for you guys. We bought this house nearby the Bayfront area in 2017. After paying down payment, our account just left $200 in there for me and my husband. Then we are still working on the, you know, we have 3 jobs, you know, for our mortgage and the tax poverty. You know, the tax poverty is getting, you know, much and much, you know, every year just grow up. Okay, meanwhile, we have a friend who is a single mom living Pinot. They rent a room, apartment with Section 8. She just pays $300 per month. And the other $2,500 paid from our government. I have nothing to say. You guys can think about that. And I would like to remind my dear neighbors, you can check our community. Those affordable housing, affordable apartment, they have their personal gym and parks, but it's not for public, just for them, for renter. But we share all of park.
And thank you for your comment. I wanted to give a little bit of time because I spoke over you, but thank you very much.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to make a public comment?
I put a card in.
Oh, I don't have your name. Okay.
It's way past my bedtime. 77, moved here 13 years ago, came here for all the same reasons. I've met more people today. I live on Promenade. I'm the one with the big American flag to say I'm American, not political, I'm American. That's the guy over there. Got a dog, walk around all the time limping. So you probably recognize me out there with my little dog. So I came here for all the same reasons that you did. And I have very mixed emotions listening tonight. I really do, because I was president of the Contra Costa Association of Realtors in 1990. And you know what I did that year? I was also president in 1999. You know what our number one issue was? Affordability housing. And at that time, 47% of the people in California could afford to buy a house, and it's now 13% that can afford to buy a house. Now, where the heck do we think they're moving to? We had a term back there, it was called NIMBY. We are for affordable housing, but not in our area. We didn't want to change our area. I want to thank you for being volunteers. I want to thank you, Samantha, because 2 years before I did that, you were out there doing something to solve this problem. The word that I heard this morning was, or this evening, was nonprofit. It wasn't, this is not a bunch of greedy developers trying to make money off of us. They're trying to solve a social problem that we have everywhere. You don't think in Walnut Creek, Antioch, in Pleasanton, they don't want to change the nature of their area? But you can't get teachers to teach this school when they can't even live here. I have 650 real estate agents under my license in Walnut Creek and Danville. I don't live in Pleasanton anymore because I can't afford the living to retire here. So my problem is their problem and your teacher's problem that have to commute. When I moved here 13 years ago, the guy next to me commuted 4 hours every day to go to the Central Valley because he couldn't afford to live in that area. Okay? All I'm going to say to you, there's 2 reasons why we're in this. You're asking about a fast track here that's overwhelming you. You know why we have that? Because it costs too goddamn much money to build.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you for your comment.
So they said we're going to get through that.
Sir, thank you for your comment.
On our system, so we don't have to.
Sir? Thank you. Let's go to, if we can go to Zoom and then we'll come back in the room.
I'll turn to our Zoom attendees. Narzana Khan, please go ahead.
Hi there. I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. First and foremost, I do want to thank the presentation given by Ms. Samantha from Community Housing Works. Thank you so much for being a voice for us all. Second of all, whether or not this project is approved, I do believe that some of the comments heard here today were implying to me that they do not completely understand the depths of community. Sometimes community does not only mean protecting what is yours, but also uplifting those who need a hand. Because you never know, God forbid, anything happens to you and you become disabled or anything like that. You may need a project housing development as such in your favor. A lot of the comments kind of implied to me that that projects or low-income housing translates to the word ghetto, and I was very I don't know, it was very vulgar, some of the comments, but I do appreciate those who found common ground and were able to express themselves respectfully. Let's see. Fourth, I graduated from Hercules High School in 2014. I contributed to the food service work in Hercules in 2016 for about a year, making sure that none of our community members were sick. I had a food safety card and upheld to that very pridefully. And I was happy to serve our community members. And prior to me graduating Hercules, we had many family members that lived in Hercules and still do live in Hercules. And we would go to the parks regularly, specifically Refugio Valley Park, where we shared very fond memories of some of our late family members.
And Ms. Khan, thank you very much. That's the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Damn, that was 2 minutes. Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Josephine Liebenel. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Listen, I just want to say thank you to the presenter.
No, somebody should have timed that. That was not 2 minutes.
Hello? I just want to thank the City Council as well as the presenter for this project in promoting affordable housing, which is a very needed project in every community. However, in our community, this is not a fit where it's being proposed. I want to applaud my fellow residents who have talked about impassionately about, this not being the place, but let's continue the conversation. So I won't take any further time, but I just want to say I've been a resident close to 40 years. I've been a Promenade resident for close to 23 years. We would like to have respect of the waterfront development master plan, and this does not fit. So I just want to be on record, but I appreciate the time spending this evening. Thank you.
Sherry, go ahead.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, council members, for having this meeting, and to the presenter. I just want you guys to know that the condo complexes in Hercules, I'm an owner of one. We are already affordable housing.
Sherry, I'm sorry. You're
We have
breaking up.
nothing but renters now. But yes,
Sherry, we cannot understand you.
sorry, can you hear me?
MHBC, go ahead.
Hi, I think echoing a lot of what other folks have said, my questions would be mostly if the project proceeds, how would this affect the transit? We've talked a lot about like access to transit. Would this affect the construction of like an Amtrak station or the ferry station? How would it affect parking with more commuters? So just kind of thinking about the transit pieces. Thank you for the chance to speak.
Is there any of our other Zoom attendees that would like to make a public comment at this time? Seeing none, that will end public comment.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you for all the public comments, and thanks for folks who tried to stick to the 2 minutes. It helped us get to this point where we can take some additional comments or questions from council. I did hear some questions that, and I will summarize this at the end, but I think a couple of these might be for staff, and I wondered if staff could answer how this works. So the first one was a question about safety. I think I'll turn it to City Manager Hall because the next agenda item is the budget, and there is funds set aside for increasing safety as the city grows, I believe. So can either you or Director Gatto just confirm that or give us some information about how the city plans to grow PD and other agencies, sewer, et cetera, as we move forward. Again, it's in the current agenda packet.
So if I follow what you're talking about, what's on the agenda tonight are development impact fees, and developers are charged an impact fee for the growth, their fair share of improvements to facilities, schools that are borne by that development. So that's generally how we pay for any improvements or any expansions or any additional staffing that's needed for things like public safety.
Thank you, City Manager Hall. Next question that I heard was about the Bayline project versus the Loop site project. Do we have any control over who builds what, where?
No, Mayor, we do not. Both sites are privately owned, and their owners are free to propose any development that they like. We are not allowed to steer affordability to one site or another. Any developer can propose affordable housing on any site in the city that's zoned for housing.
Thank you. And another question that was asked was about school capacity. Does the City of Hercules have any say over school capacity? That was mentioned several times.
Well, that's not really the city's, within the city's control. I think the school district is aware of the capacity for growth in Hercules, and in general, additional students come with additional revenue. So,
and they also have their own impact fee that they would charge to a developer for a project.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And there were a couple of questions to the developer. I'm not going to ask them specifically of the developer. My understanding is they do not have to speak at this moment, but I'll just repeat what I heard from the public so we have these on record. Building height was a concern. So there is the zoning, which is, I just had it, T5 MS. This appears to be more than T5 MS. T5 is 2 to 4 stories. There was a question about parking, not only for residents, but for visitors. No access to transit was a comment that I heard. There was concern about traffic, conformance with the waterfront development master plan, ground floor commercial retail. Again, the school capacity issue might be a question for the developer as well. There was a question about density. Design, the word was not used, design review, but what we would call it would be design review for the rear of the building. And then closeness to work and resources. and then clarification of why the developer feels they meet the 75% rule for applicability. Okay, just so everyone, I heard you, I made notes, we documented it. Again, the council won't be making any decisions, but we may have some additional comments based on what you guys have said. So with that, I'll go back to council to see if there's any comments or concerns. Councilmember Grimsley.
I'll be brief. This is really just for the community that's here tonight. Bravo. You are really engaging and making your voices heard as community members. All of us live here in Hercules too. Everyone sitting on this council, everyone like you cares very much about the quality of our community and preserving what we have. We all moved to Hercules for similar reasons, because we wanted this sort of almost small town community feel, where we do know our neighbors, where we meet up at parks and community events, that we say hello to each other in the grocery store or at the dry cleaners or at the car wash or gas station. It's the kind of community that we've all chosen, and we are blessed to have had the ability to choose. I heard also a lot of appreciation for the need for affordable housing and the understanding that affordable housing is necessary in all of our cities and all of our towns. But we also have very common appreciation for the kind of living style, living environment that's going to continue to appreciate the community that we already have, and the shared concerns about a new development that would stand counter to that. And so we as a council share your concerns as community members. And so as you're speaking, we are listening. Like the mayor, I was taking notes as individual speakers came up. And when we have an opportunity to share our comments and our concerns as council members, then we will certainly be echoing many of the things that we've heard here tonight. So I just wanted to say that to you. Actually, for me as a individual council member, I'm just speaking for Tiffany Grimsley, this was one of the most enjoyable council member meetings we've had. Why? Not because people were upset, but because people were communicating. You were here, you were present, and you're communicating. And that is what community means to me, that we all get a voice, that we all get a say in what kind of community we live in. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Grimsley. Councilmember Walker Griffin, and then Vice Mayor Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And to echo the comments of Councilwoman Grimsley, thank you all to who have been chiming via Facebook, Nextdoor, all of the above. As someone who is a deep supporter of civic engagement, I totally get it. I actually live in the waterfront area myself. I live over at the Dillon, but I grew up here in town. I moved, when did my family move here? 2002. When I was a little boy, but I decided to stay here in town after completing undergrad because I really like the community. I really like the vibe that we have, and I honestly like the proximity to every corner of the Bay Area in Northern California. My dad's family's from the Midwest, and I often brag that you can be in Napa in 30 minutes. You can be in San Francisco in 30 minutes. There's not too many where you can get that proximity, location, a good community that you can see. I'm not going to. Two of my friends that I went to high school with come into town and share their stories about growing up here. So I greatly do appreciate that. And also just wanted to echo that we definitely hear you. Some of you may be wondering like, hey, what do the council members think? Our whole job up here right now is just to listen and provide that feedback to the developer and make sure that your voices are heard. We're just conduits of that. So don't suspect that there has been some sort of backdoor deals or backdoor conversations. I work in policy in my day job, but this is the first time I'm ever interacting with this bill. So I'm learning a lot too. So I appreciate all the feedback that everyone's given tonight, and they definitely have been noted and appreciated. And also feel free to always come to these council meetings. It's been crazy, honestly, to see this whole place filled. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Walker Griffin. Vice Mayor Kelly.
Thank you. I have some questions for Samantha. I don't know if you can answer them, if you'd be willing to answer them or not, but I do have some questions, so I'll just pose them. And first I'll say I grew up in Los Angeles. I spent over 25 years in Berkeley, and I still do work for Berkeley Student Cooperative, which provides affordable housing for 1,200 students in 20 properties next to UC Berkeley. And so I understand the need for affordable housing, but I have to say that here in Hercules, we have always believed that affordable housing should be integrated into the rest of the community. And we've done that in various ways. Now, we do have some affordable housing projects here. We have over here, we have the Samara Terrace, the Arbors, those are for seniors. We also have the Victoria Green, that's affordable housing, 132 units over Victoria by the Bay, but those are only 2-story units. Those are managed very, very well. So we could use more affordable housing, but I think we could really use affordable housing for seniors. So Ms. Issel, I'd like to know, when you talk about affordable housing, who exactly is it for? And would you consider having affordable housing, say 50% for seniors? Because we really do need that. A lot of people would like to sell their homes, turn their homes over to their children, and then move to an affordable senior unit where they feel safe and protected. So that would be really, really important. One thing that the community members stated was the height of the building. One woman said, it seems like a wall. 5 stories high, many residents feel that's just way too high. You know, it would just create this massive monolith there, standing over single-family homes, which at the peak of their roofs are only 32 to 38 feet high. A 60-foot building looming right next to them is way too tall. So would you consider making the development only 3 to 4 stories high with maybe a maximum height of 43 to 45 feet, which is the height of the multi-unit buildings on Railroad Avenue? I think that would be reasonable. Another thing is, in terms of who goes and stays in affordable housing, exactly, you know, who are we talking about? You have mentioned people at 30 or 50% of area median income. What about workforce housing, 80 to 120%? I gather you would not consider market rate, but that could be a mix that you could throw in. And I do know that a lot of people would really like to have affordable housing for purchase, because then folks feel secure and they've got skin in the game. Another question that I have is, you know, going to build it, but will you operate it or will you turn it over to another operator? You know, that's a big concern in the city. I'm sorry, we can't answer questions, okay? Another question about is affordable housing for disabled. So I would like to know, which disabled? Are we talking about people who are physically disabled, you know, needing to use a wheelchair? Would there be adequate spaces for them and access? Are we talking about intellectually disabled or developmentally disabled? For example, special needs. If you wanted to include a portion for those people, would there be adequate staff? I know that there's only one manager unit that is proposed here, but you might need more people, so that might call for more units. We would not want those kinds of folks to be in any way in danger, okay? The other question is, and this has come up from some residents, would you be considering people who are disabled by mental illness? That's a really tough one, really tough for a lot of communities. And I know that in another city, they have affordable housing. Part of it's reserved for mental illness, bipolar, schizophrenia. And unfortunately, there are not the social services available now to help those people. And so it's been kind of a disaster. People may know that it's really hard to find K-12 school teachers. It's really hard to find social workers. So that's really, really, really tough. Regarding the transit, so the Westcat JX line does run down there now, but you may not realize that we are facing a transit fiscal cliff, and it is entirely possible that the JX line could be suspended for that reason. The other thing is, no matter what gets built on parcel F or H, which are owned by Mr. David Curry, the buses now turn around on that. And a 40-foot bus could not turn around on something that's being developed. I have spoken with the general manager about that, which means that then there would be no bus service now if we don't have the train yet. And, you know, we need 100 million or more. We're working on it. But with the state government now having its budget challenges and the federal government as well, we may not be seeing any money to complete the design and to do construction for the train stop for a very long time. So I will tell you that it is 0.8 of a mile to walk from this site at F and H over to San Pablo and Tsushima. And that takes about 20 minutes. So for people who do not drive, that's going to be a real challenge. Okay. I think a lot of people have spoken tonight about our community, how we value our community. If you proceed with this project, we would like you to work with us, okay? And I think in part of that, the community would feel, scale it down, make the facade very much like what's in the Waterfront District Master Plan. I know that you've said you don't want any commercial or retail, but how about on the end caps on the first floor, just a little bit of retail? You know, it's kind of like we have the Powder Keg on the building on Railroad Avenue. We have His Cafe down there now. That would be really, really helpful and appeal to the community. I guess that's pretty much it. I'll just say one thing. A lot of people in the community have been very disturbed and upset about this. They feel like the neighborhood's going to go down the tubes. In fact, over the weekend, I ran into a realtor who told me that he had 2 people who were going bidding on homes pull their offers because of the Bayline project, so they're scared. And so I'm asking you now if you are willing to work with us, with our community, to build something that would be suitable at different income levels. And like I said, maybe for senior housing, because seniors, when they move in, they stay. When people at low income or low income, they often have challenges and they may be moving in and out and in and out. We understand. But 100% for that would be really, really tough for the neighborhood. So I'm asking you to work with us, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Kelly. Councilmember Bhattarai.
Give me a belly. I want to make it sweet. Start. First of all, thank you so much for the residents, chiming in tonight and then raising your concern. I equally share same values and same concerns like you, because I moved this city to consider this is the best city to live in and raise my kids and family. With that, I really urge Samantha and team just to listen the community and let's work on good faith. Definitely, we wanted to be in favor of affordable housing, but we really need to keep that the mind that we are aligned, compliant with our community concerns. Basically, this is a very important thing. With that, actually, I also would like to request our staffs to be very vigilant. I heard that a few experts in the SB 35. I would like to get their feedback as well. Let's make sure that these projects is taken very seriously, and then making sure that our residents' voice are heard and then reflected in this project's development. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Bhattarai. I'll just go quickly here and say what I've tried to do throughout this process is, yes. I'm looking at the city attorney.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight was an opportunity for the council and the public to hear staff's presentation and the applicant's presentation. It's at the will of the council, whether you want to invite the applicant back up for any questions. But again, the purpose is for the comments to be heard by the applicant. So it's up to you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to make my comment and then we'll allow you to come and answer questions so you can, hopefully not just Vice Mayor, but everyone. So what I've tried to do throughout this process is just make sure we have factual information out there. Yes, I've heard the hub and, 7 years I think is not a realistic number, right? But it took 30 years to get BART to San Jose. So it's a long-term project. Many of us have been working hard at that. Councilmember Walker Griffin has helped us get some federal funding. Our staff has been doing grant money. So we are working on that. It's just factual information, not advocating for anything. And then WestCat, the 3 of us sit on WestCat board. Our vice chair of WestCat is right here with us. If we don't have bus service, and there is an issue, we knew that when we started service. I was the chair of WestCat when the service started. The bus can't turn around, right? Our streets by the plan are too narrow, in the opinion of our bus company. And so therefore getting a large bus downtown, Hercules, which is the waterfront, is very challenging to do. So at some point, even if they build single family homes there, that service will likely end unless we figure out another way to get a bus to turn around. Building a hub would help us turn the bus around. But again, that's timed out. So there's a little bit of facts. Now, my name is Dion Bailey, and I have lived in Hercules since I was about I was 11th grade, so about 17 years old. I so largely grew up as an adult. I went away to college, came back, purchased a home here. I love our community. I'm an advocate of affordable housing. I have made sure that we get affordable housing in as many products as we can. We have done that through sprinkling it throughout the community. So most people don't even know where those projects are. Our ranch has 2 affordable units. I worked very hard with the developer, of course, with city staff. We don't do things by ourselves here. To get 2 units there, when they're completed, no one will know they're there. Right, so I am a believer in this. I grew up in San Francisco. I do have challenges with the density. I think the community's talked about the height. Again, what's zoned is 4 stories. And just as a resident, not as mayor, I would hope that we would figure out a way to help the community with that. It will create shadows, right? Part of what we're here to do is just give some feedback. So I'm going to talk about this product as if it's been approved, just so the developer can hear some thoughts that I have. If this goes through SB 35, I hope the developer would consider some type of screening for those residents. There are 4 homes that abut this that have had bay views for a very long time. And so if that goes through that process, I'm not advocating that it should or should not, but if it does, I hope we won't go put sapling trees in there as the divider between the parking lot and this development. I think one of our former planning commissioners mentioned the height and the shadows. There's things that can be done about that. We did a lot of research on the exchange with the shadows and how it would affect the community that's directly behind it. So I hope that will be looked at. I hope there will be some conversation with some of those homeowners to see what they may need. But again, I think sapling trees would not be the best thing. Bright white fluorescent lights glowing in their home might not be the best thing. And then conformity with the code. So that's just as a resident speaking here, knowing the developer doesn't do anything that we say at this point. Those are just things that I ask as the developer work on. I heard some ideas here many great ideas here. For what this could be to make it better. I think that some retail component on the bottom would be great. I did notice that in one of the buildings, I think it's the end cap does have some community space for amenities. It looked like also there was an office space, and these are just drawings, right? So they're just words on a piece of paper. But I hope that in the final, if this makes it through SB 35, that is addressed there as well. The community was very involved with that in 2008. I became a planning commissioner shortly thereafter. I thought it was a cool process. So that's what I did. We've heard from, like I said, a current planning commissioner and a former planning commissioner tonight. That plan is important to us. There are residents that were here that developed it. It helped put that together. So it's important to us, right? It's part of our identity. And the Bayfront was our vision for our future as a city. It takes time, right? Even Walnut Creek's downtown started looking at that in 1950 is what I'm told. It didn't get built to the 2000s, right? So these things take time. But what we don't want to do is a new law that is in effect to be the reason we skip over a lot of concerns of our community. So that's my statement as a resident. And then I will encourage you to come up to Mike if you want to address any of those concerns. You're welcome to do so. Yes, to the podium there. And while you're coming up, Councilmember Grimsley has a comment.
I just want to say something really quickly. Vice Mayor Kelly posed some really great questions, and there was one piece in her remarks that I want to make sure that was heard in the way that I believe that she intended, and that was with respect to members of our community that have disabilities. We have great respect for individuals with all levels of ability. I'm a person with an invisible disability. We have many residents who are members of the neurodivergent community. We are a community that wants to embrace and include all members of our community. So that's a very important piece. And I just want to make sure that didn't get lost.
Well, thank you. And I'm echoing everybody's comments tonight. I've heard everyone. I took what I think to be pretty diligent notes, and thank you for coming out and showing up for your community. It's awesome. Some questions that I have written down. As far as Vice Mayor Kelly, I'm going to start with your questions first. As far as seniors, that is something that we've done in the past. It's not contemplated for this project. The idea right now is that it is intergenerational, but I hear your comment about that. Obviously, I can't commit to anything at this stage, but noted.
If you could consider that, please.
Yes. The height limit is something that as we've mentioned, the California State Density Bonus Law allows. I have heard pretty much 80% of the speakers object to that. So I hear you. There is a feasibility component with affordable housing. The cost of affordable housing has been mentioned. That's part of the reason why SB 35 exists, is because these projects take years and hundreds of thousands of dollars per unit. And the hope is that streamlining this project will shave some of those costs down. That being said, oh, I didn't realize I had a timer. I'm sorry. I have some other.
You can
oh,
just respond.
okay.
Different rules, and I'm not ignoring the public.
Okay,
There's different
okay.
rule for the developer.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. That being said, about the cost of the project, the more feasible this project is, the more it can be integrated better into the, what am I trying to say? It can have more bells and whistles to it. The more funding we get, that funding comes with being a transit-oriented development. We're, as Community Housing Works, we are fully latched on to the Hercules Hub. We're building for the future, not something that exists right now, something that exists 5 years from now, 20 years from now, because we are an owner-operator. We will hold this project, we will operate it pretty much for the term of the regulatory agreement, if not longer. We've been a company since 1988. I just went to a project's 30-year anniversary party. So we hold our projects and we take great pride in that. I just want to emphasize that. Market rate. Our mission is more focused towards 100% affordable housing. I'm not saying that we haven't done it before. It's just not kind of the product that we, that is our kind of end product. Because as you've heard before, I'm very passionate about affordable housing. CHW is very passionate about affordable housing. So we really try to have 100% affordable housing. Now, to your other point about other AMIs at the project, so the average AMI, area median income, is going to be 60% with all the 107 units. 60% AMI isn't on my sheet, unfortunately, but there will be 80% AMI units at the project, and that ranges from $87,550 for a one-person household to that $155,000 that you heard me repeat over and over. So there will be an 80% AMI component. As far as developmentally disabled or disabled folks, so nowadays pretty much everything will meet ADA standards. So there will be at least 5% of the units designated for accessible units. In addition, 2% of those units will be for hearing impaired individuals. So that is just, there will be parking spaces for those individuals, ramps, all common spaces. The American Disabilities Act will make the common spaces meet the accessibility requirements, like lower counters, levered hardware, things like that. So that is pretty much, that is standard. To your point about what I've heard referred to as IDD, so intellectually and developmentally disabled individuals, we've actually been talking to the East Bay Regional Center about partnering with them on this project. That is extremely preliminary, but that is something that we are exploring to include that population in our project. That is extremely preliminary. I just want to say that. With that, there would be an added services component. Community Housing Works has a services department. So we have in a situation with permanent supportive housing or a population, an IDD population, there would be perhaps a staff member or a case manager assigned to those specific individuals. And in partnership with the East Bay Regional Center, they would also probably have a staff member there in some capacity. That hasn't been worked out, we're just in conversations with them, but that is one way that we could make this project feasible, is partnering with the East Bay Regional Center. So I think that answered most of your, oh, I do want to address setbacks and the shade at the project. So we will perform a shadow study. It'll show you what the shadow cast of the building throughout the years, or throughout certain times of the year. The way the project is built, I think everyone is extremely familiar with the site. The buildings are going to be set closer to Bayfront Boulevard. So there is going to be a setback. That's where those 87 parking spaces will be, which also include tuck under parking. So the building, pretty much the whole building is going to have tuck under parking on one side, and then there'll be parking on the other side, along the wall where the homes are. That will, as far as shadows go, that's the best way to minimize the impact of the shadows of that project.
Maybe pause just 1 second. To our city clerk, if you can, while she's speaking, there's an image of the parking, just so folks here locally can see it. And please continue. I'm sorry.
I think that is pretty much it as far as my responses.
If you can just explain as the image comes up, I think that'd be good.
I wish I brought my laser pointer. Go back a couple slides. Yeah. Yeah.
It's in our presentation, I think. The orange background one. And I'm sorry for distracting staff with this.
Oh, that's okay.
In the meantime, while that's being prepped, Councilman Vice Mayor Kelly.
So thank you for that explanation. I think the height of the building is a big concern. And so I'm asking Community Housing Works to bring it down and to work with the city on that. And if you perhaps have people at 60, 80% of area median income, then that will, you can have a little bit higher rents, and that could help to subsidize some of the lower and then make this project feasible. But the height is definitely a real issue for people. And then in terms of people who are disabled, 24/7 care for those who really need it. And I think what's really important is not to just have one manager on site, but if you have developmentally disabled people there, they need care round the clock. And so you have to be able to meet their needs. We don't want them wandering out in the streets and all of that kind of thing. So that would be really, really important. And lastly, please consider on, the end caps. We would like to see some sort of a sandwich shop. I mean, something small and simple. The other thing that I would say that has been very popular in Hercules, if you go to the Bayside community, you drive next to Aventine and you're on Sycamore, there are some townhomes there. They're all attached. They have kind of like live work in the front. And so there might be something like a real estate agent, there might be an insurance company and so forth, small offices. That would be something that would look more like a retail component onto Bayfront Boulevard. So I'm asking you to work with us to create something that we feel would be suitable and would conform with, as much as possible, with the Waterfront District Master Plan.
Heard. Thank you. This is back to this site plan. You can see the parking element on the top, and it's in the lower half of this site. You can see that the project is kind of pushed along Bayfront Boulevard. That's where the without a laser pointer. This is Bayfront Boulevard here. Property is up against it. This will be the setback right here. So the residential homes are here and here, and that's going to minimize the shadows.
Could you tell us how far it would be from the major part of the building to someone's home in terms of feet?
I don't think, Brian,
You may not know.
I don't. Yeah,
But I'm asking you to figure.
I'm looking at our architect who's here. I think that could be, that does sound not too far off it, but I can't tell you the exact square footage.
Okay, and then if you can hang out there just for a second. So again, for the public, we're not trying to plan a building that the public says they don't want. This is our only opportunity if it goes under SB 35. So that's why we're having this conversation. I think it's important that we get these things on the record. So again, at the bottom of this image, there will be homes there. Again, my ask is that we reach out and somehow communicate to see what those folks need. I heard you're going to take some kind of study for shadowing. I appreciate that. Just to summarize, we talked about normally there should be commercial / I think it's retail. Mr. Rood can verify that, but we do see some residential units on the first floor, and then there's also some utility access on the first floor. These are all exceptions I think that are being asked for, but the point is, what I'm hearing from the public is if this is a SB 35 project, they like it to conform as much as possible. I did hear your comments, but I want to make sure we have that out there, and I want to just check with any of the council members that has any sort of design review points that you just want to express, because that's all we get if it's SB 35. And then, go ahead.
Only to express that I am in agreement with the comments expressed by Vice Mayor Kelly and with members of the community with regard to the height. It's really an issue for this community. It has to be something that's in line with the existing housing that's here. I think Vice Mayor Kelly made some really great suggestions with regard to adding some in spaces that would allow for services for the community that's there, whether it's retail, it's dining, it's something that is going to add to the value both for the residents in that housing development and the surrounding community, and to the entire city of Hercules in terms of being able to generate income for the city.
And then just more of a design review. Thank you, Councilmember Grimsley. And before I make my comment, Councilman.
Can I make a quick comment here?
Yes.
If it is 35, I hope not, but we'll see how it goes. But if that is the case, is it possible to put some screening or the masking in the just right behind our residential area so that the privacy and integrity remains the same for those residential homes, basically, especially those homes has a backyard looking into some, the apartment, big tall apartment building. So I would feel that would be the more appropriate to have that kind of screening or masking. I don't know what that could be. Could be trees or could be something else. Can you comment on that one, please?
Go ahead.
Actually, council member, if I could comment on that. Under any form of streamlining, the city can only require conformance with written objective standards that were in effect at the time the pre-application was submitted. So we don't have the opportunity to condition the project to do things that are not required by the WDMP or the zoning code.
Thanks for the clarification.
This goes along with design review also. First of all, is there any other comments? I know these are all, this is the first draft, which normally we wouldn't see, but the law requires us to see it. Colors, et cetera, I'm assuming you'd match it from the community, right? We wouldn't just go pick other color. I mean, we saw some color samples here, but my ask is that you do that. Again, all I can do is ask. The state has taken my power away, but that's my ask, is that it conform with the other colors in the area there. I know we do have a.
You didn't like the colors? No.
But I don't live next door. I live in the community, as this Councilmember Walker Griffin, but I don't have to look at this from my side window from my living room, right?
Okay. No, let me know what colors you like. I'm open to that.
And I would also add the style. The style is really important. So like the craftsman homes, so that it would blend in, so we're trying to give you ideas to make it so that it's a good project, so that it would be acceptable to the community. So please, take all of this into consideration. We'd appreciate it very much.
Heard.
And I think we heard the parking thing, so thank you for that. With that, I'm just going to check with council. We have some more items on the agenda here tonight. I just want to thank the public for coming out. Thank you to our developer here and to staff for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take a quick recess here. I'm waiting for the clip to say recording. We are, okay, sounds good. Okay, next item on the agenda, we're returning to our normal meeting. So next item on the agenda is public hearing. We have a public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2025-2026 City of Hercules annual budget plan, including the first year of a 10-year 2025 to 2035 capital improvement plan budget. Maybe you have the staff report, please.
Thanks, Mayor. This is our third meeting, as you know, of our annual budget. We started off an informational budget workshop in April, and then we had our first public hearing on May 27th. And tonight we're continuing the public hearing as we move closer to adoption. And so I'll have our Finance Director, Edwin Gatto, to give the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Hall. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. The City Council, as you recall, held the budget workshop on April 22nd and discussed the 10-year capital improvement plan and also the 25-26 annual budget. The first public hearing for the budget was heard on May 27th, where the Council members shared their input. Tonight, we'll continue the public hearing and welcome further comments. But once the City Council approves it and adopts the budget tonight, it will be available online. Following the first public hearing held on May 27th, there have been updates to the budget that merit attention. There's $240,000 has been designated for S&G contract. This funding will support engineering and capital improvement services, and $20,000 has been established for the City of Hercules 125th anniversary celebration. Both additions will be funded by general fund reserves. For more comprehensive details, please refer to page 38 of the budget book. It is recommended that the City Council approve the resolution to adopt the budget recommended by the City Manager. The budget resolution outlines key designations for the upcoming annual audit and endorses several annual service contracts enhancing transparency in city finances. In addition to the proposed annual budget, the following related items are presented for Council approval as well, as described in detail in the staff report and resolution: the Hercules Public Financing Authority debt service budget and the appropriation GAN limit. The GAN limit is a constitutional provision in California that sets a limit on how much state and local governments, including school district, can spend each year. The limit is calculated annually based on factors like population, inflation, and per capita personal income. The annual appropriation for the FY 25-26 represents 3% of the appropriation limit, confirming compliance and well below the established limit. Lastly, the City of Hercules has earned the Budget Excellence Award from the Government Finance Officer Association and the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers for 6 straight years. This award underscores the city's commitment to transparency and accountability in financial management, reflecting the dedication of its governing body and staff to high standards in budgeting. That concludes my staff report, and I'm happy to answer the question.
Thank you very much. Any questions or actually, I guess public comments first, then we'll go. No, yes, let's go to it's the public hearing. So we'll go to Council first, then we'll open the public hearing.
Yes, Mr. Gatto, just a couple of questions. So as I was going through the budget, the only real change that I could see, other than, you know, fixing typos and so forth, were the list of additional budget requests, and there were 2 there. One is for an engineering services contract at $240,000. Can you explain what that is, please?
Sure. I
One of you.
can explain a little bit better. So this is for the next year's support of our Public Works Engineering Division. We've been able to fast track a lot of the projects we have on the CIP, and it's proven to be very fruitful to us. So we would like to continue the service with that. We'll bring that contract back for approval. This is just the appropriation phase, but we'll bring that contract back for council approval, probably at your next meeting, so we can hit the ground running.
Okay, I got it. And then where are the funds for this, the $240,000 coming from?
From capital reserves.
From capital reserves. Now, is this an ongoing item or is this a one-time item?
This is a one-time item at this point.
Okay, so that's coming out of capital reserves. And then I do see that you've allotted $20,000 for the City of Hercules 125th anniversary. That'll also come out of reserves, but I understand that's a special, probably a one-time thing as well.
That is also a one-time item.
Okay, and the rest of the budget stays the same, the general fund and so forth.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the comments from council. Councilor Grimsley.
Thank you. This is just a question regarding the funding for our capital projects, specifically with regard to our parks and neighborhoods. We've allocated, or there's some project notes on, let's see, I lost my page number, 197, 198 in our packet, with respect to Foxborough and repair, resurface residential streets, Hercules by the Bay. And then on page 206 of our packet, which outlines the funding through fiscal year 34, 35. And if this may be more appropriate for, well, for anyone on the staff who wants to answer, just revisit how these were prioritized. Folks in my neighborhood are really wondering about what's when we're going to take care of Woodfield Park and the surrounding streets, particularly Lupine and Violet.
Yes, and I'll respond to that. If our Public Works Director has anything to add, he's welcome to come up. But in short, we're working on building out our CIP. The 3 streets that are listed according to our pavement condition index are failed streets. And so that's why they are going next. The CIP, once we start the project, will address, and you see a lot of the red areas that are the failed streets. So we're going to be addressing those areas with different treatments, essentially. But that's how the prioritization worked for the major roads. Once we build out the rest of our CIP, we'll be able to look at the other streets that are in poor condition, which will be next, essentially, for us to start repairing, and on down and up the line, I should say, not down the line, but up the line, essentially. So that's how the street selections were selected.
And can you describe briefly what it means for a street to be identified as a failed street?
Sure, and I'll have our Public Works Director come up and provide more context.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor Bailey, Vice Mayor Kelly, rest of the council. Yeah, the pavement index is updated, I believe, on a 2-year basis. We're currently in the process of updating it, but that information won't be available until the spring. But the most recent, I think it was 2022, did identify areas with the lowest pavement index rating. That included the Foxborough neighborhood, or many of the streets in that neighborhood, as well as Hercules by the Bay. Those are that and Falcon. We are moving forward with a design that will be going out to bid later this summer for the Falcon repaving. And then at this time, we're trying to determine, reviewing the sequence of the upcoming paving projects and reviewing the available funding to determine the next project that'll follow. But we do want to also begin a design for the Foxborough neighborhood and probably for Hercules by the Bay simultaneously, and then determine construction sequencing based on available funding. As far as, I think you also had a question about parks. We are trying to get the shade structures for Refugio Park. We're actually going to recommend a pre-purchase for those so that we can accelerate work on that project. Hope to put that project out to bid a little later this summer. And we're considering combining that with the Foxborough basketball court. And we are currently looking at the playground condition to see if it makes sense to include that in this current construction phase. So that element of work should be bid this summer, with construction occurring through fall and winter. Hopefully have that project at Refugio Valley Park shade structures complete by spring of 26.
And Director Dombeck, if you could talk about the failed streets, what is a failed street? What does that mean in terms of the pavement condition index?
Yeah, it's essentially looking at the the depth of asphalt pavement and the condition. Essentially a failed street has extensive cracking present throughout the majority of the surface that extends deep into the layer and requires extensive milling of the surface in order to reconstruct the asphalt layer and potentially even the road base. It's essentially approaching a failed roadway. And of course, all of the roadways are deteriorating over time. So it's important that we address the failed streets and begin to then work on the poorly rated streets so that we can maintain a pavement index and we're not declining over time.
Thank you very much. Can you also tell me how often those surveys or those studies of those streets occur?
Yeah, I believe it's on a 2-year cycle, and I know that we're currently gathering information for the upcoming cycle. And I don't think that information will be released until the spring, but we're currently working off the 2022 pavement report.
Anyone else from council?
Yeah, I have a
Councilman Basaraj.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Thank you, Mayor Ellie. I think my question, I know, thank you, City Manager Dante. Actually, I think he responded me, and I had a question on this appropriations up to the 3%. Can you please just elaborate on that one? I was not quite clear, and I also want to make sure that I think the amount is $585 million and $116,335. It sounds like that is a 3% of this county level budget, I guess. Can you please elaborate and make that understandable for me? Thank you.
On the GAN limit, I'll turn to our finance director.
Well, the GAN limit is a constitutional provision in California. So we started with a number which is pretty high for this region. And we work with that number and we inflate it based on population. What is the other factor? Population, inflation, and per capita personal. So it went from 400 million to almost 500 million because of the inflation. So we are way below that limit because we're a small city within the Contra Costa County.
What does that mean? How that applies to us? If you are below, meaning that are we getting more funds or getting more grants, or?
It's just a limit that we can have the appropriation to. We have appropriation limit up to 500 million.
We cannot cross that threshold, is that right?
We cannot cross the threshold, but we cannot spend more than what we earn.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I just want to make sure that.
Any other councilors from council? Okay, I did have one just on the, and I'm sorry, we had you take a seat, but on the streets and the ones that are in critical condition, is there a complete list that can be passed out? That may have been said, but I was wondering if we could, I think I talked to the city manager about this, but if there's a list or is it pending where we can see so that, everyone in the community sees that their streets are being addressed? Because I do get lots of questions about that.
Sure, we can make the study that was done that we based our analysis on, we can make that available.
Okay, and then there's time to adjust if necessary in the coming year. We have the allocation of the cost allocation, but adjustments can be made if necessary. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask one more question since our city engineer is here? In addition to us doing a pavement management index study, doesn't MTC do that for the Bay Area? I don't know if it includes the local streets and roads, but I think they evaluate streets and roads all throughout the Bay Area. Do you happen to know?
That's correct. I mean, we are working with MTC on the street saver evaluation of the pavement index.
And it would come down possibly even to our local roads, huh?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
we are in the process of preparing that update.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then I had a couple of questions just for budget in general. We talked about, I think there's some sort of what I would call urgent park repairs. This is in some of the kids' play areas. And I wanted to know if we were able to set aside any funds to look at that, or will it come directly from the parks master plan allocations? So again, this is what I mentioned at the last meeting. I don't know who wants to speak on that, but through City Manager Hall, if we want to address it.
Sure, and I think you're referring to the fall areas of playgrounds. And so we're doing an evaluation of that and trying to find a cost-effective way to do that. But yes, we're looking to address that through, I need to make sure we won't be able to address those all in 1 year, so it has to be multiple years. But the Public Works Director and I, and also our Parks Director, are actually figuring out a way to efficiently do that so that we maintain the cost low, but we make the playground fall areas safe in all of our parks. There's a lot of them. It's not a sexy project. It's a very expensive project. There are a lot of needs. So those are competing with other needs that we have, and we haven't addressed. But yes, we're looking at a strategy. There is money in the budget to address some of the, if you want to speak a little bit more about that.
Sure. If you look at the CIP, there's a component for the Foxborough basketball court surface, which we're currently in design and will be going into construction. And then in the subsequent 2 fiscal years, there's money for Foxborough playground resurfacing and equipment replacement. And so we are evaluating whether it makes sense to accelerate that work and include that with this upcoming construction project. So that's not been decided yet, but it does appear to be an option. And so we're going to evaluate that and come to you with a recommendation.
Okay, thanks. And this may be being addressed by you guys, but my question, I guess, is that at some of the, I'll just say what I've seen at the slides where they end, it's just the kids have worn sort of a hole into that rubberized material. There may be other areas as well. I don't visit every park, but I was wondering if can we patchwork it? I mean, it looks the best, but at least it's, I don't want to say it's unsafe, but can we make it safer?
That's exactly what we're doing. We're looking at the most efficient way. I'm not sure it makes sense to set aside an amount of money because we don't know the cost of it, the sequencing, but we're going to start addressing Foxborough first, and then we're going to look at the sequencing and how to efficiently address all of the parks. Because I believe most, if not all of our parks that have play structures have the same issue, and they've had the same issue for more than a decade. And so we're finally getting to address these, but they're not going to all be addressed at one time.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And then last question is more to city manager. I wanted to allocate, not necessarily to spend it, but to allocate $50,000 more towards our monument type sign. So we have that in reserve. I think there may be some talk about for this fiscal year, at least just getting some design work to see what it actually costs. So that it'd just be to go towards that project.
So we still have the $100,000 that is available for this project for some type of monument signage. Are you talking about allocating an additional $50,000?
Just to set it towards it, it's not to spend it because we don't know what we're going to build yet. The council has not looked at anything, but it's just sort of start building a fund that could be used if the council approves such a plan.
So we have 100,000. Are you talking about an additional 50?
That's what I'm saying. Yes, because we don't know what the cost is, right? We don't know what the cost is.
don't.
Yeah, so it's more like earmarking it more so than anything else, right? Just so that the funds are there for us. If they can be moved at a later time, could they be moved at time of purchase?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
When we know an exact cost, we can come back to council.
Okay, then if it can be done that way, then I'm fine with that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, would you consider that an additional budget request, or is this just something for the future?
It's actually in as money's allocated for it already. So it's
You want to add on to
I was
it?
going to add on to that, yeah. So we have the money just sort of in reserve, but if we can move it at the time, I think that's probably good enough.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, so I'm going to open the public hearing and then we'll take,
I'm going to turn to my Zoom attendees. If you'd like to make a public comment on this item, please use your raised hand icon. Seeing none, that will end public comment.
okay, thank you very much for that. And then we'll go back to council for any comments or concerns. Before you make a motion, if I can.
Yeah, please.
I just want to just point out a couple of things. In the budget, there is a section under, I guess, the restricted funds, and it talks about lighting and landscape districts. There is a district that is, having some financial issues. There's a 218 process for that. Mr. City Manager Hall, can you talk about that, please?
Yes, for our lighting and landscaping districts, there is a 218 hearing process, and I'm blanking on the date of that.
I think it's the 24th, I think, but in June, later this month.
Later this month in June, I believe it's June 24th. And the proposal on the table for the property owners there is to pay over a 10-year period an additional $50 a year to basically pay down the deficit there, and also within CPI to increase their assessment so that they're paying for the expenses. But that hearing is going to be later this month.
Okay, so I think I heard it's 50 people who have a 218 process, which is a ballot. Those have been sent out. They will send them back into us. It's $50 extra per year for 10 years.
10 years.
Total $500 per parcel over a 10-year period. Okay, thank you very much. And if there's any other districts that are having financial issues, if they see that in the budget, city will have a plan to help with those, to help those districts come out of that financial situation. Okay, Vice Mayor Kelly.
Yes, so moving ahead. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we pass the resolution of the City
Mayor
Council.
Kelly, I apologize. Did you close the public hearing?
Did not, thank you. Closing public hearing, Vice Mayor Kelly, sorry.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we pass a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hercules approving the fiscal year 25-26 City of Hercules budget plan, which includes the first year 25-26 fiscal year of the 10-year 25-35 fiscal year capital improvement budget, and making certain designations confirming the city manager's contract authority and approving annual contracts for services in the total amount of $7,743,160.
Okay, so motion by Kelly, seconded by Councilmember Grimsley. Any discussion? Okay, we have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Boderai.
Aye.
Councilmember Grimsley. Councilmember Griffin, Walker Griffin.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Aye.
And Mayor Bailey.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. I think there was just the one.
Mr. Mayor, we have another resolution.
Hang on 1 second. Let me get back to where that is in the agenda.
If someone would like to do it, otherwise I will do it.
Yeah, understood. Just trying to find the question. Okay, go ahead. There we go.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we pass a resolution of the Public Finance Authority approving the fiscal year 25-26 Hercules Public Financing Authority budget plan consisting of debt service in the amount of $2,023,258.
I second the motion.
Okay, so I think that was motion by Kelly, again, second by Grimsley. I think she beat you. And so any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Boderai.
I
Was
think
there
there is
discussion?
Yeah, a quick comment here. I think there is one more, the proposition 111. Is that part of this budget or not?
This is
Okay.
attachment to resolution, Public Financing Authority.
Okay, so there's no discussion. We have a motion and a second on the floors. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Boderai.
Aye.
Councilmember Grimsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker Griffin.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Aye.
Mayor Bailey.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda, going backwards, is item number 7, which should be the consent calendar.
No, Mr. Mayor, we have one more resolution.
I'm missing a resolution on my page here.
So would someone like?
Let's hold on a second. Let me find it first because I'm having an issue. I don't see it there.
Where's the third one? Where's the third one? Where's the third?
Yeah.
It's called Attachment 3, Resolution GAN Limit.
It's 26.
Okay, all right. With that, do we have a motion for the third resolution?
Unlike Commissioner.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Grimsley.
I think you better read it.
I think so too. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hercules establishing the appropriations limit for the 25-26 fiscal year in accordance with Proposition 111 and Article 13B.
I second.
Second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Grimsley, second by Boderai. Any discussion? Okay, maybe a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Boderai.
Aye.
Councilmember Grimsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker Griffin. Vice Mayor Kelly.
Aye.
And Mayor Bailey.
Aye. Okay, motion carries 4-0. I think that's the last one because, all right. So next up on the agenda is the consent calendar. Does anyone have an item they want to pull from the consent calendar? Okay, so hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the 3 items as is.
Okay, so motion by Vice Mayor Kelly. Second by Walker Griffin. Leave a roll. Oh, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Butteray.
Aye.
Councilmember Grimsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker Griffin.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Aye.
And Mayor Bailey.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then we're going to return to discussion items for development impact fee calculation and Nexus report and a recommendation. I think we have a contractor on the call. Thank you for sticking around so long.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, go ahead. Staff report, please. I'm sorry.
Great. I'll turn it over to Director Gunn.
Okay, thank you, City Manager Hall. Good evening again. As you recall, in 2024, the City of Hercules acquired the services of Revenue Cost Specialist, RCS, to assess future development impact costs for city's infrastructure system. It is important to note that the last update to the city's development impact fees occurred in 2009. According to the Mitigation Fee Act and Assembly Bill 602, a reevaluation is required every 8 years to ensure the fees remain appropriate. However, best practices recommend that updates occur every 5 years or more frequently if there are significant changes in development or facility needs. The city aims to determine the costs associated with infrastructure necessary to support long-term development while ensuring the services levels of current residents and businesses are maintained. Development impact fee calculation and Nexus report have been submitted to support this goal. I have Greg from RCS to present the Nexus calculation and report, and he'll after that conclusion of that presentation, he'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Greg?
Okay, thank you, everybody. It's been kind of a long, busy night for everybody, so I'm going to blow through my slide deck really quickly. And so I'm going to blow through a lot of the, well, the boring stuff, frankly. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share, fingers crossed. Let's see here. Okay, and hoping that's going to be showing up now. Okay, and can we see the presentation now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so again, I'm going to blow through a lot of the methodology that we used. I'm sure that we're all familiar with how impact fees work and the basics. Let's see here. Okay, I do want to point out though that the report is up to the standard regarding the County of El Dorado versus Sheets case. This is for the Nexus establishment as well as proportionality. So legally, the update is sound as well as AB 602. Again, there's more methodology going through it. Let's see here. Okay, so my firm was brought in to do public safety. That was going to be for police, storm drainage, general government, and then quality of life is going to cover parks as well as community centers. Let's get through all this again. Okay. So one thing I did want to point out as well too, my job with my firm is to calculate the maximum amount of the impact fees, but it's up to the city though to determine the appropriate amount of the impact fees though. So I do want to be really clear about that. Somebody has to calculate the ceiling for these, but again, the actual appropriate amount of that though is a policy decision though. Okay, so I think you should have these in your packet already, but these are the proposed impact fees that RCS is proposing. Detached is going to be for single family homes. Attached is going to be for multifamily homes. Commercial lodging is going to be for hotels. Retail was all wrapped up with retail and office. Industrial and then institutional uses are going to be things like churches, dialysis centers, things along those lines that fall somewhat outside of the normal retail. Real quick, I did want to point out that, let's see here. Give me here. The impact fees do not include circulation, but I wanted to quickly go through though a few of the neighboring cities and kind of where they are at with everything. Give me a second to find that. Oh, here it is. Okay, so Martinez is at 14,000 for a single family home, 10,000 for a multifamily home. Retail is $5 per square foot. We're right now we're proposing at $4.06 or 60 cents. And industrial is at 0.47 for Martinez. Now, this does include transportation, which our study did not include. For Rodeo, single family home, just for the park fees alone is 9,584. For a multifamily home, it's 6,903, and for a mobile home, it's 6,000, and that's just for the park fees. They also have fire fees as well too. Of course, that's through the county, but that's going to be 1,319 per unit. We have I think I'm going to butcher this name, but you should know what it is. Pinal, I believe, Pinal. And they're coming in right now at 15,000 for a single family home, 12,000 for a multifamily home. And they also have non-residential though at $10 a square foot for retail, $8 a square foot for office, and $6 a square foot for industrial. Finally, we have City of Richmond. They're at 17,670 for a single family home. Now that does include traffic, sewer, as well as fire. For multifamily, they're at 14,000. And they're, let's see here. Yeah, the industrial is kind of a little bit high too. It's at $3.90. And their retail is at $9.90. So again, these do include a few more infrastructures than we currently have though. There were updates to current fees. I can go over those in more detail. But you can see though that there are some that are going down. So law enforcement, especially for detached or single family homes, is going down. However, though, if you look under retail though, per square foot though, that is going up by about 5 times, as well as industrial. The attached unit is going down as well too. That's a multifamily home. For the general government, that one is going down a little bit with the residential, but it is increasing though with retail. And one other thing too to keep in mind about that is that the original fee for that included the library under general government, and that was one of the largest costs that was driving that fee. For parkland, the current fee right now is $1,770. But we're proposing though at $7,706 for a single family home. The original study though was closer to 6,000. So my assumption is that this was adopted at a percentage for parks. The new development fees we're introducing this time is going to be storm drainage. And again, you can see here at 504. And then public use facilities is going to be for community centers. Previously, this was tied into general government in the 2001 study. The unchanged fees right now are going to be public benefit for the Bayfront project, fire facilities, transportation, sewer, and this county transportation fee as well too. And that is it for my slide deck. I can go into more detail on any infrastructures that come up or the methodologies for how we got to those numbers.
Okay, thank you very much for the staff report from our team. Any questions from council?
I have a question.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Yes, thank you very much. So do you know when the last study was done? Was it in recent memory or was it like?
It was 25 years ago.
25 years ago?
Actually, I'm sorry, excuse me, 24 years ago. The research was done in 2000. The report was published in 2001.
Okay. So, so overall, the proposed development fees, for example, for detached, it's about 14,000. For attached, it's 9,000. What are they currently now? I'm just curious.
So currently, right now, the fees. Actually, it's interesting because I had a difficult time getting a full breakdown of those ones because I can tell you per infrastructure.
Just generally.
Yeah. So generally, like for detached right now, for police, you have 1,522. For general government, 858. Parkland is 1,770 for those. So yeah, I mean, I think overall.
So are these overall going up a lot?
No. In fact, for law enforcement, for residential, that's going down by quite a bit. A lot of that has to do with the new methodology we're using too. Obviously, the methodology has changed over 25 years. And so that's why you're seeing a shift into retail for those. But overall, though, we're still raising about 1.7 million for the police, though. It's just going to be distributed a little bit differently because we do it based on calls per service versus a per capita.
Okay, and I would imagine 25 years ago and more, we were building out a lot of infrastructure, and now we're getting close to overall being built out. So these numbers change for residential, retail, commercial, so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Kelly. Any other comments or questions from council? Okay, I just want to say thanks for the report. I have no questions on this particular item. So this was information. I'm looking for our recommendation from staff. Councilman Kelly, stand by. Yes, sir.
Well, the staff recommend that the city council review the attached development impact fee, and secondly, by minute order approve the report and instruct staff to incorporate the proposed fee in the master fee schedule for final approval on June 24th.
Thank you. So we just received it now, it sounds like. I'm just gonna look this, do we need to?
And by minute order approve the
Okay, so you do a quick poll here. then.
instruct
Approve
us
it.
to include it in. the
I'm looking for if we need a poll or we just need to do actual.
We need a vote.
The actual vote. Okay, in that case, let me have a roll call vote. Do we need a motion as well? A motion to approve it, accept it?
We do.
Okay.
We need a
Councilmember
motion.
Kelly?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that by minute order, we approve the report and instruct staff to incorporate the proposed fees into the master fee schedule for final approval on June 24th, 2025.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion by Vice Mayor Kelly, second by Councilmember Walker Griffin. Any discussion on this item? Okay, so we have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Butteray.
Aye.
Councilmember Grimsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker Griffin.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Aye.
And Mayor Bailey.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. And that is the last item under discussion. So the next item on the agenda is public communications. This time is reserved for members of the public who were unable to speak or attend the public communication period during section 10 of this meeting, or were unable to speak due to lack of time. The public speaker requirements specified in section 10 of the agenda apply now. Do we have any additional public comments?
I'll turn to my Zoom attendees. If you'd like to make a public comment at this time, please use your raised hand icon. And seeing none, that will end public comment.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is council communication, city attorney, city manager, announcements, subcommittee, intergovernmental committees, commissions, and reports. City Manager Hall, anything to report?
Yes, I just have one announcement, inviting the community to join us for our Juneteenth celebration here this Saturday, June 14th. This is an event that's co-sponsored between the library and the city of Hercules, and it'll start with a story time at the library at 10, followed by a flag raising ceremony at City Hall at 11, and conclude with a healing sound bath at the library at 2 o'clock. So we invite everybody to come out and hear a few guest speakers, hear some poetry, and all of the festivities.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for city manager? If not, we'll go to the city attorney.
Nothing for me tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Over to council. Any comments or, any reports? Vice Mayor Kelly.
Yeah, like several people, I did attend the funeral of Federal Glover. There were about 1,000 people there. May he rest in peace. He was a wonderful fellow and a dear friend. Also on May 29th, went to the Pleasant Hill BART Fairgate ribbon cutting. Very exciting, and hopefully we'll see those Fairgates throughout the entire system. And then this past Sunday, I was at the Pinole Pride and Juneteenth event, saw their city manager, their new police chief, and several council members. Really a very lovely event. And going forward, I'll be at the Hercules Juneteenth event on the 14th, and also at the Richmond Juneteenth event on June 21st. I'll be at the CCTA booth in the afternoon.
Thank you. Either Councilmember Walker Griffin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too attended Supervisor Glover's funeral. It was, celebrations of life are always so interesting because you see people and you get together with people that you sometimes don't ordinarily cross paths with on a regular basis. So it was great to do that, but also great to remember such an amazing person who's done so much, not only for this community, but for our entire region and our state. Supervisor Glover is definitely an institution and a legend, and his legacy will live on forever. I was thinking about this a lot. Not too many people have the opportunity to literally see their work physically and in person every single day. And millions of people are going to reap the benefits of the stuff that he's sown over the years. So we thank him again for his legacy, and we thank him again for his service. Later this week, assuming all goes according to plan, I will be in attendance at the Hercules High School graduation, and as well as the Juneteenth event this Saturday as well. And this past week, I was in attendance at the mayor's conference. I apologize for looking down at my phone, coordinated troop movement right now. So if I disappear, you know where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Walker Griffin. Councilmember Grimsley.
Hi, I just want to note that this Friday, as Councilmember Walker Griffith just said, Hercules High School will have their graduation at 10 a.m. at the high school's football field. Saturday, I'll be in attendance at the Juneteenth Festival here at City Hall and at the library. But I do also want to acknowledge that we've lost a few community members, as noted, Federal Glover, of course, and some of our community members didn't have quite as wide a reach, but one did, and that was Anna Blackman, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. She was very involved in West Contra Costa Unified School District. She was my high school principal at El Cerrito High School, and she remained committed to the educational community, and just want to express my condolences to her family and to all of the students whose lives she impacted. Similarly, Ms. Beverly Parker, who was a member of the Hercules community, who passed away in the month of May. Funeral services were on June 6th. And she was just a presence in this community, a really lovely woman who was very kind, and offered just warmth and a lot of mentorship, especially to other women, younger women in the community, and she will be greatly missed.
Thank you. Councilmember Batsarai.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. I plan to attend the Hercules High School graduation plan and the Juneteenth event as well. And I had a privilege to attend the funeral services of Federal Governor as well. And I think I also had a privilege to join the mayor's conference last week. Our council member and our chair of the East Bay Division, Alex, was running the show, so glad to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will be at the graduation unless something goes horribly right at work. And then I will also be at the Juneteenth event that's going to be on Saturday from 10 to 2, I think we said it was. Otherwise, that's all that I have. If there's any other council member have any future agenda items? Okay, I'd like to close the meeting in the memory of Hercules resident Beverly Parker. Thank you. The next scheduled meeting of the Hercules City Council, we're at adjournment. Next scheduled meeting of the Hercules City Council is on Tuesday, June 25th, 2025 at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. Thank you.